When it's PCS time, you know the drill. Pack, research the new base, get the kids in school, because family supports family. At American Public University, we support military families with flexible, affordable online education that moves with you. As a military spouse, your tuition rate is the same as your partner's, just $250 per credit hour. American Public University, education that moves with you. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.
Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB, here in the Rugby Dungeon with Tim. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Hello, JB. Very well.
Tim, you looked a bit tired when you came round. You just get up from a snooze or something?
Thanks. Actually, yes. It's the short answer to that. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. Back to normal.
Yeah, it's going to hit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to have my pre-podcast snooze just to get me in the mood.
Yeah, but I'm not very good at those. I feel worse after an afternoon nap.
Oh, I love it.
I feel groggy and out of it, and so one of them.
Well, I find it 50-50. Half the time I feel amazing. Half the time I feel like I need to be sick.
Yeah. And how are you, Phil?
Well, I've not had an afternoon nap, so I am actually tired. But I don't feel sick either. So
good.
That's good.
Well, I am full of rugby joy this weekend. Why don't we start with some local rugby?
Oh,
go on.
Let's start with some housekeeping. Tim, do some housekeeping.
Yes, we are the longest running, the OGs of rugby podcasting, into our 12th season, and bringing you an episode every single Monday morning, and into our 12th season now, 12 and a half seasons, whilst all other grassroots podcasters have been off taking a breather or putting some pre-recorded guff up. We've been bringing you live episodes, and we continue to do so. And if you appreciate that fact, you should hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. You should get in touch and contribute to the show by emailing contacteggchasers@gmail.com and get more content at patreon.com/eggchasers. Lots of messages about particularly how the Patreon podcast ended and the story that
How did I end it?
That you shared about your wife, and it involves some shopping.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, the gift.
Your very generous present.
Yeah, I've not been on the emails for weeks, so I will get back on the emails. I've got a new phone, so I will do that.
Contact eggchasers@gmail.com, and I will pepper the episode with some of the correspondence we've had. Has there been any big news, rugby news? It's always quiet.
Has there?
It's always a quiet time.
Are you joking?
Go on.
Well, the Talk H pitches are now onto their seventh day of being underwater. Submerged. So I don't know. I mean, you might have heard that Manchester has been victim of floods, and
certain parts of Manchester.
Yeah. Well, we play on a floodplain, right?
Yes. So it is in the Mersey floodplain.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I looked at some of the images that were being shown on the news, I was going, that's someone's not opened a floodgate, or that's not.
So one of them is someone has opened the floodgate, and it's doing exactly what it is designed to do.
Yes, exactly. It's saving. Our rugby pitches flooded to save houses and communities.
And people know in the case of Talk H thing, because there were videos doing the rounds of cars floating down the road. I imagine if you park your car in the Talk H car park, then
you don't want to do that.
More for you.
Yes, you really do not want to do that. Do you know cars have an automatic mechanism now to open the boot should it be submerged in water? Because so many people died as they drove into streams or whatnot. I mean, not streams, rivers.
Really?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that until you told me the other day.
And the boot was open. I made a little gag. They must be furious that they left the boot open. But no, that's what happens. The boot will come open, so you can swim to safety.
My goodness.
Which should come in handy if you were, say, a Kennedy. But yeah. So.
Wow. Anyway, so
do you
just play away from home?
Well, this is what I was going to say. So we were unable to train. We train on a Tuesday, so that wouldn't have been useful this week because of New Year. So we had to train on a Thursday. A big shout out and a thank you to Burnage that hosted us
very good.
At their place because otherwise we couldn't train. So we had opposed training against Burnage on Thursday, day after New Year's Day. And even bigger shout out to them because, of course, when your rugby club gets flooded, what do you lose? your kit, which we completely overlooked. So we played as a cosplay Burnage this week, which is lucky because they also play in yellow and black. They're yellow, we're more in orange. But yeah, big thank you to them. So they really got us out of a bit of a hole.
There was a league match.
Yeah. So we beat Aspel, who looked after us very, very, very well. Good club. It was a very tight game for the first half. Very, very tight game.
Did you get players? Did you get all the players back? I imagine there's probably. I would have thought most grassroots clubs would have waited till next week to get back to normal.
We were full strength. So when we trained on Thursday, we took something like 18 to 25 first team standard players. Like, there was hardly anyone missing. So it's a weird thing, as there's been a lot going on in Didsbury this week. Including one of the external walls of the clubhouse falling down with the floods. So, like, usually we're pretty good at this. It floods, we go and clean it up. It's designed to do it. It's not a big deal. Well, I think this year it's been a little bit worse because it's gone a little bit higher. Yeah. But one of the external walls has fallen down on the gym. So don't know what we'll do about that.
So I was aware that the clubhouse was designed to flood, and I saw some of the pictures shared around WhatsApp. I was like, it can't be designed to go that high. Yeah, it's
in the crossbars now.
Yeah, over the level of the, like, in the clubhouse, over the level of the bar. Like, the bar would be completely, like, 2 meters high in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and we had that bar robbed a few weeks ago. And a lot of stock smashed, so all that new stock is in there. And mind you, you can power spray that stuff, can't you, and drink it?
Yeah, it'd be fine. The Mersey notoriously clean water.
Yeah, but, have you ever used a pressure hose? Easy.
I've gone, I'm about to say a very middle-class statement here. I've gone paddleboarding on the Mersey.
Have you?
What?
I don't generally do it. I just went.
God, I hate paddleboarders.
I went once, and I've never that focuses the mind on staying upright.
Yes, it does.
The Mersey. I was walking along the Mersey today with my 5-year-old. It's flowing pretty quickly at the moment. I hope it wasn't a day like today.
No, it wasn't. No.
But even in middle of summer, it's still got a decent current on it.
Maybe I'm talking about the canal.
The canal.
I'm talking about the ship canal. Forget me.
The ship canal or the Bridgewater Canal,
yeah,
which are both pretty close to us. Which the Bridgewater Canal burst its banks down near Dunham Massey, so everything is all the water-based infrastructure in Manchester is failing at the moment.
Yeah. But the rugby keeps on going,
doesn't it?
It does,
doesn't it? Just some good games.
Is there any other like newsy stuff, headliney stuff? Not really, is there?
Well, there's the world's biggest rugby star playing her third game of 15s for Bristol Ladies, which I watched a bit of.
First game or third game?
Third game.
Third game is still on the bench?
No, third game of 15s.
Third game of 15s,
right.
First game for Bristol.
Yes, but the first game of 15 she's played for 7 years.
7 tries.
Not exactly, but it's more nuanced than that, I would say.
Okay, maybe we can return.
There is
to that.
a very interesting thing we're going to put on the Patreon podcast about a complaint to World Rugby involving the Canadian ladies team, which, as documents go, is one of the most entertaining rugby documents I've ever read. But then most of it is Premiership and the absolute white-hot heat of competition.
Can I just bring up one thing, which is it's not a bit of, it could be a bit of news, but did you see La Rochelle beat Toulouse in the top 14?
I watched it.
Did you see the Toulouse team they put out?
I did.
Completely second string, with the exception of Cyril Bay making his first game back after a long injury.
Or third string in
many cases,
instances.
Which says to me, Toulouse are sending DuPont, Ramos, Malvaca,
the boys,
Meafu. They're sending the Willis. They're sending the boys, Chocobares. They're sending them all to South Africa to play against the Sharks.
Ooh, yes, really assert their dominance.
That has got me excited. A full bore Sharks team with all their box,
showing the South Africans how to do European travel.
Yeah, baiting
South African travel,
and all of those people, all those fans in the Southern Hemisphere that just completely deny the sheer brilliance of Antoine Dupont. And one of the justifications they have is he doesn't play in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, he's coming, boys.
He's coming. Let's see.
I tell you what a way to chum the water for the Sharks with Antoine Dupont. I mean, which one of those Springboks, which like to be, looked after, mollycoddled all season, I'm going to say, no, keep me on the bench for this one.
Well, I just hope it's full
rest
ball
me for this one, boss.
I hope it's full ball, both teams.
Be.
Jack Willis against Sia Khaleesi, Etsebeth against Miafu.
Do you think Sia Khaleesi
Malvaca against Umbanambi?
Do you think Sia Khaleesi worries to lose after his stint at Racing?
Uh,
Possibly not.
He's been playing well this season.
Yeah, he has.
8.
There's-
Is he still playing 8?
Eight and 7. Well, 6.
7.
South African 6.
Talking about disastrous Racing signings, have you seen what Midi Olympic have been writing, Tim? I saw it and I was offended for you.
Owen Farrell's been a flop.
Owen Farrell is a flop. I mean,
He hasn't
been.
played.
Yeah.
He's been injured.
He has. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
thus
it
far.
is-
It is a flop.
Have they got their money worth from him this season?
No.
Categorically, no.
do you think he'll go to Leicester?
I would love that, but possibly.
He's definitely more useful to Leicester than he is to Racing at this point.
It always. That's one of the things we have said on the pod before. You just can't. It's almost comical. Owen Farrell in Paris, isn't it? It just kind of doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I thought,
As a rugby player, 100%, he can play anywhere. But just he just doesn't seem to fit.
well, yes, I mean, one of the greater storylines, just from a comic point of view of the rugby last 12 months, has been Lancaster's trip to France. So presumably, I mean, he said, actually, he's on the record saying this, when he was at Leinster, he was on the phone every day to Jackie Lorenzetti and the lads over there, working out how the team's going to feel and look. Obviously, Lorenzetti signed off on Dan Lancaster, but he was responsible for bringing over
Maybe Scotland's Dan Lancaster,
Sia Khaleesi, right?
if reports are to be believed.
But his selection of superstars, I mean, they've not got any value out of them whatsoever yet. No. And they're languishing at 8th or something. It might be lower than that.
Yeah.
I think they lost again this weekend, didn't they?
They did. They lost
to Toulon this weekend.
Yeah, handily. Dan Lancaster leading the team against Garbisi.
Was it Garbisi who started rather than pick your international fly
Yeah,
half?
I mean, I guess that Racing could have either of those boys if they really wanted them, but they decided on neither of them.
Dan Lancaster.
Legarek 9 and Joshua Tuisova 12 with Farrell in the middle does sound kind of good, but Dan Lancaster in the middle.
And Le Garrick scored almost all their points, didn't he? He got 2 tries and kicked a bag full of conversions. I keep thinking about how many times. So obviously, Stuart Lancaster has persuaded Lorenzetti, who perhaps isn't the most studious on world rugby, that he's got this amazing 10/centre that he can bring into the club, who just happens to share his same name.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times he tried that ruse with Leo Cullen. And he's like,
and the IRFU.
Just imagine it towards the end of Johnny Sexton's career. Johnny's getting a bit old. I've got the perfect play. He can play 10. He can play 12.
Yeah, go on.
He does he can kick sticks, kick out of hand.
Go on.
He's where's he currently playing?
Is it the middle Barrett guy? No, is it the youngest Barrett? You refer to the youngest Barrett? No, I'm not. One better.
Not the youngest Barrett.
The youngest Lancaster.
It's not Andre Pollard.
And
it's not George Ford or Owen Farrell.
Okay, so which top league is this guy plying his trade currently?
Well, it's not exactly a top league. It's as far as he can go without getting promoted. Yeah, it's at the top of the English promotion chain. So I was thinking, is there any other examples of this? Like a really not very good, or a player who's playing a higher level than he should because of a family member?
Joe Ford.
Joe Ford is the only one I can think of, right?
Joe Ford's a great example.
But Joe Ford was there as part of the package deal.
It was.
Like when your boy
Andy Tuilangi?
The other Wilkinson brother.
Mark Wilkinson.
Wilkinson.
Mark Wilkinson was pretty dreadful, to be fair.
Will Johnson. I don't think he's actually quite a handy number 8, but maybe.
I wonder how good Will Johnson and Mark Wilkinson would be if they had different surnames, just to protect them a bit. Yeah, if I was the 4th Barrett brother, it wouldn't look good, would it?
It's like when you decant a £200 bottle of wine into an Aldi bottle and get real wine connoisseurs to taste it.
You don't want your surname to be Carter and playing and playing 10. But yeah, I was thinking, at least with George Ford, you only have Joe as a reserve for when the absolute lad is not playing. But Dan Lancaster, he's the starter for a lot of the time. It's just not tenable.
He's not starting at 10. He's keeping Tuisova out of the team at 12.
I mean, yeah, and also with George Ford as well. It wasn't like his dad was picking his son. The son was picking the dad.
Yeah.
It's a very
the reverse. It was a reverse situation.
I've got a lot of respect for the Farrells that they don't do that.
Well, here's a question: if you were Steve, if you were Steve Borthwick and Leicester Tigers did want Owen Farrell to replace Andre Pollard, which would be, I think that would be a really good, good move. Would you part with a £150,000 central contract towards his salary?
No, I don't think I would.
I know you wouldn't. Would I?
He's 33.
He is.
And the other guy Leicester Tigers are considering, according to online sources...
Sam Costello, isn't it?
Sam Costello's one, and that's a no for me. Yeah. Although he was at Tigers as well, so there's a bit of a bit more familiarity there. Dan Bigger at 35, and I just don't think that's a go. I just think that's a big no.
Dan Bigger's taking the cash from Toulon, and he's retiring at the end of this season.
I am disappointed with Pollard. Because I would have thought that if they brought in someone like that, they'd really want to nail him down for a long time.
No, I think so. He's doing the South African thing, which is they get their money playing in Europe or in South Africa or whatever. Then they get to 30, they get their 30, and they get a load more cash, but elongate their career by playing in Japan.
Yeah, I just kind of think Leicester need a Finn Smith or a Marcus Smith, a long-term solution. And I don't know who that is.
Those two will be tied up.
I do know one name.
But if Rassie Erasmus was head coach of South Africa, I think he would. I'm not to say that Owen Farrell's your starter, but if you go
Rassie definitely would.
If you go to a Rugby World Cup, and you said, right, we've got Marcus Smith, we've got Finn Smith, maybe George Ford is also in contention. I would 100% want, particularly with how poor England's 12 options are, I would want Farrell around.
I'm not having him as 12 in any.
I'm not saying he would be the 12, but he would be at 12.
You can see him in that. He was a lad who played for South Africa for years. Not Francois Steyn, Mornay Steyn.
Yeah.
The guy you bring on.
Beat the Lions age 36.
To make sure things happen.
Yeah.
In the way they're meant to happen. I can definitely see that.
And on the
Francois
age
Steyn
thing,
also did that.
Yes, true.
On the age thing, yes, he is 33. But again, look at the world champion South Africa and the age of some of their guys.
But he's never played.
No, not the age of some of their guys, the age of a lot of their guys.
Yeah.
But he's never played like a young man. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't look
Johnny
at him
Sexton was still
like he's lost a yard of pace. I don't even know how fast he is. I don't know if he can run.
Not very fast.
Yeah. He's big, he's aggressive, he kicks things.
Johnny Sexton was 38 and playing really well.
Yeah. Although the Johnny Sexton one is kind of a cautionary tale for me. Because they held on to Johnny Sexton so long, they never let someone else develop. And there's a bit of a hole in Irish rugby.
Well, now Harry Byrne's going to Bristol, so he's gonna get his chance. And
I can't believe I had in my head that he was 21, 25 now. Yeah, 25. So,
but we had a lot of people get in touch and go, Bristol, Pat Lamb, listen to your pod.
Well, it's not the first World Rugby have listened to us. Very, very slow. It takes them a long time to listen, but they eventually do.
That I would link Leicester with. French fly half, plays for Bordeaux. Remind me his name?
Jalabert.
That's your boy.
He would be a great signing.
Mathieu.
I don't think he'll leave.
No, why?
Have you seen Bordeaux on game day?
Have you been to Have you been to Bordeaux and Leicester?
I was literally.
I mean, it's irrelevant of Leicester. Have you been to Bordeaux?
Yeah.
That's it.
I was literally on my phone this morning looking at flights. I'm thinking of going away there in April to watch some rugby.
So I've just booked flights with the family May, June, and Claire couldn't really work out why I was picking the Southwest, and I was hoping to tie in a Toulouse game in Toulouse. Sadly, I can't tie in a Toulouse game in Toulouse, so I'm going to have to watch Toulouse in Perpignan.
Oh mate, the atmosphere there is meant to be absolutely insane.
They're only 100 kilometres apart, not far apart.
That little corner, the southwest of France, is just beautiful food, and the rugby's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, so I just need to get an afternoon off to go and watch that game.
Oh, mate, that's awesome.
Well, I'm leaving the kids at home, maybe going away for a weekend to Bordeaux, basically with the same thing in mind. So we've been to Paris before to watch Stade versus Clermont, but that wasn't great, actually, because Stade were in a big empty stadium. And Clermont fans were good fun. And it was great atmosphere, but I don't think it'd be like a Bordeaux.
You want to be in the south of France, don't you?
Yeah.
I think Jalabert is a realistic proposition for Leicester. Because they've got all the money in the world.
They've got a lot of money.
They've got the money to pay him.
Yeah.
And he's not in with France. Mind you, playing for Leicester Tigers, I know they're still one of the biggest clubs on the planet still in terms of brand name recognition and history. They'd probably be, 10th in the top 14 at the moment?
But if they manage to attract Handré Pollard, which is no mean feat, the recruitment of Handré Pollard. So the two, let's just say 3 big bits of recruitment in the Premiership. Getting Finn Russell to the Premiership,
Yep.
huge. Handré Pollard to the Premiership, huge. And the repeated retention of Marcus Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 bits of business are absolutely massive.
That's
in England, keeping him hostage with the England money.
It is, and he can be a marquee player at Quins, whereas he can't be one anywhere else. But other players have moved. So, like, look at 2 that were stolen by Bristol in Genge and Sinclair for big money outside of the marquee slots. So, the one bit of news that I saw this week, I've got the page in front of me. It's not really news. It's a bit of a clickbait headline, but it's from a Clive Woodward interview.
Oh,
yeah. Clive Woodward showing how in touch with the game he is.
Yeah,
the headline is, Sir Clive Woodward claims Premiership coach who plays, quote, rugby from the gods would solve England's problems, quote, at a stroke of a pen.
Oh, this is a great question. So Clive Woodward is thinking of a new England coach, right?
Because Woodward
who can play a bit.
Famously wants Borthwick out because he's too boring.
Yeah, so he wants Borthwick out, and Clive Woodward has said the England's
do you know the answer to
immediate...
this?
I do know the answer.
Okay, so the immediate answer in my mind is Brian Ashton. Right? That's just where I'm at. Plays rugby from the gods. I don't think he's currently coaching at the moment in the Premiership. So it's going to have to be some sort of older guy. I got no idea. He doesn't know who Dave Alder is. He doesn't know who
Lee Blackett.
Lee Blackett is. I mean, Lee Blackett's where we're
okay, let me ask it a different way.
Doesn't know who
if you were Clive Woodward and you don't watch rugby,
yes,
by his own admission,
there you go,
and you just decided over the Christmas period, I might just like flick on a couple of games and then make a wild hot take that one person would immediately...
Austin Healy. Is it Austin Healy?
No.
Oh,
so
I'd take him.
It's a current Premiership head coach or director of rugby. Don't know what his actual title is.
Right, so it's got to be an older guy, surely to God.
No, I think it's more likely that what I just sort of described. Clive Woodward was asked his opinion on something about rugby, and
Palam.
Yes,
correct.
Maybe.
So there are 2 problems with this. One, I don't think Pat Lam would be particularly suited to international rugby. Certainly not World Cup and Six Nations international rugby, which is attritional, shall we say. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, he says, in the quote is, at a stroke of a pen. He's perhaps the best paid coach in all of rugby. He's still got 4 or 5 years left on an 800k per year deal. So this is not the stroke of one pen. This is the RFU signing off multiple £1 million losses for him to get rid of him and also then to get rid of Borthwick.
Yeah, I mean...
you'd have to be clueless to think this. But it was...
Well,
yeah,
it was Sir Clive.
Yes.
It'd be nice if he paid attention, because it's just so insulting. If he pays attention, I have no problem with a World Cup coach, a World Cup winning coach, commenting on rugby.
Yeah,
well, when he says I don't watch Worcester.
And actually, if Clive Woodward had said, which is actually probably the entire substance of the opinion he held on that, which was, I love the way Pat Lam's team plays, and I'd love to see England play open up a little bit more. That's actually what that's basically what the article is.
That's the thrust of it. Yeah, that is the thrust of what he's saying. He does, and he said he has at least been consistent. He's criticised Borthwick in the past recently for being too conservative, too much kicking.
Yeah, but the thing that cheeses me off about that is he was an international head coach, and his England team lent heavily into the English DNA of a powerful, horrible pack of forwards.
And it took him years to. It took him 5 or 6 years to win a World Cup. It was Rome isn't built in a day, as he well knows.
As he knows.
Yeah. But just on that, so when I remember really getting into rugby was Northampton Saints winning the European Cup. Right, this club rugby. Yep. So that's when I really started paying attention. It might be a bit earlier than that, maybe 2000, right? Or 99, I don't know. But that's when I really started paying attention. And for me, when I watched England as a young man, I didn't notice like this power brutality. I just saw great rugby. I mean, maybe because that's because they're absolutely battering people. And to be fair to him, he didn't just pick boring players. Jason Robinson.
No, I totally agree.
You know, so I don't know. I don't ever remember his England team being a boring team.
I didn't say boring.
No.
I didn't say boring, but it was not. They did not play how Bristol played. They beat you up front.
They
then
laid the platform.
They had Mike Tyndall with his nose spread across his face, running hard down the 12 channel.
Katz. He's a beautiful player.
100%. All fantastic. They had a great balance, which is what rugby teams need. But what the article seems to be saying is we should play a completely different style of rugby. I don't think would suit England because I don't think we have the players to do it.
This has just come to mind now. I had a thought during the Northampton game about what does the national team do and what is the English identity of rugby. And I think the English identity of rugby has changed, actually. So it's gone from like big, nasty, mean packs. And maybe this is because for the past 10 years, the RFU have been telling us it's skills, it's evasion. The Northern Hemisphere can't do skills. Well, we can do skills now. And I think we've had such a focus on that. Watching Northampton today, I thought maybe Borthwick is the wrong man. Maybe you need to reinvent it.
Possibly.
On a skills basis, because that's just the players that you have.
All right, Clive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that is actually true. Because I look at some of the players who... I'm thinking specifically of an area that we've got shortage in. The tight head props that England have available, there's one I can think of who's got good skills, and he's unavailable because he's playing in Toulon. The rest of them, like the guys that are big enough, don't have the skills. The guys that are skillful enough don't have the size.
No, well, there are some guys with the size and skills, but without the heart. So we've got some big old boys that can play a bit.
Well, but they're like Aaron Painter is someone he's a big international. He's an international size player.
Can't scrimmage. I mean, he
can't
can
scrimmage and doesn't have any skills. But even he doesn't need the skills if he can scrimmage. But actually, he can't scrimmage.
I spoke about this a few weeks ago that we've got these massive props and they exist. James Harper, Aaron Painter. There's a handful of others too, but they're not hard. Like they're not good scrummagers. They're not hard players.
Will Stewart is a big boy. He's 130 plus.
Stewart is probably the best.
He is, but he's second choice at Bath.
and the guy ahead of him is
third choice at
by
South
a country mile the best.
The best
might be the best player, but he's the best tight head in the Premiership by
he's
a mile.
He's third
choice for his national team.
Yes.
I think he's probably second choice now.
He's climbing up the rankings, isn't he? I think he's getting the recognition he deserves.
Slowly.
But yeah, the England number 1 behind the South Africa number 3 is kind of...
shows you where we are.
Tells the story. But I also think, as we've talked about many times in recent episodes, that the salary cap consequence is that, as you've talked about many times, large human beings carry a premium, and they are very, very rare commodity.
They have never had to work that hard because they're a rare commodity, and just on the basis that they're massive, they've got to the top of the game.
Yeah.
South Africa, they're massive, but there's loads of them. Like, there's just loads of them.
When you think about Premiership title-winning teams down the years who've done really well in Europe as well, you think the Leicester team with Alassana Tuilangi, Manu Tuilangi, like absolute units in their team, and there were some horrible, gnarly props. Castro Giovanni, tight head, and Iurtsa. Oh my god,
and Julian White.
Yeah, and then you think of Northampton, Samu Manoa.
Yeah,
Majority and Tonga Weir.
Beating people up everywhere.
These are difficult men to acquire.
Yes.
Yeah, just thinking that, is there a Premiership team which have not been particularly good at scrummaging? I mean, even when Harlequins won it, Joe Marler's a phenomenal scrummager.
Yeah.
And they always had someone else on the title, like a Wilco Lowe, or I can't remember who, Will Collier, or someone who would hold it up. So I can't think of, But I was thinking maybe we do need to look at something, you guys, need to look at something else which is more skills-based.
Yes. I agree. Actually, I don't agree. It's the balance. It's always the balance. So it's not getting rid of the skills. It's not going 100% size orientated. You've got to have both. And like that England team 2003, it did have both. It had the gnarly pack.
Should England, because everyone talks about we've got this massive player pool, but then you look at certain positions and there's just not quality there. I don't know whether you pick a system to fit the players or you pick a coach picks a system and then selects the best players for that system.
What you do is you need to pick a coach, right, who is a set-piece specialist, so you look after your set-piece, but is absolutely clueless about what happens in the backs, right? And
have you just described Borthwick?
No. I've described Gloucester, right? So if you want to play some of the most sublime rugby, I would go with George Skivington, and I'd find...
And Don Waldock. Give it Waldock to the end of the season.
Waldock, Skivington. I mean, how exactly Clive Woodward has overlooked Rugby from the Gods, or said Rugby from the Gods and overlooked Skivington, I do not know. Did you?
I mean, that is some of the most ridiculous rugby.
Did you see the first try?
Oh, this Carreras.
Oh my good lord! I mean, when I was watching them, do you know who their wingers remind me of?
Well, their wingers, Hathaway and Max Llewellyn.
Yeah, they remind me of a budget Bordeaux. So you've got this guy, this little scrawny guy with a scrum cap running around everywhere. I know he's not as fast. I know he's not as good as Beret, but my God, he gets through some work. Yeah. And he's always popping up. I don't know. Do you know who else he reminds me of as well? Josh Bassett. So, not because of how he plays, but because...
Just the look of him.
No, not even how he looks. He reminds me of Josh Bassett. Because do you remember when Wasps released their team sheet for the first game of the season? It's like, superstar, Josh Bassett. And I was, who the hell is Josh Bassett? Like, who the hell is Hathaway?
This is about 10 years ago.
Yeah. It's like Curly
Sir
Beale,
Charles,
Piatow, Cipriani, Gopperth, like just names everywhere. Josh Bassett?
I don't like I like Gloucester, a great club, good, salt of the earth fans, really fun day out. I don't like that they're a bit of a nursery for Wales.
Well, they are only, I mean, I don't know. It's like saying, why do Sale take players from Warrington? It's just across the border. It's so much like cross-border travel there.
Max Llewellyn is English. As in, he was born in England.
Born in England, yeah.
He is a superstar. I mean, I think the way that boy plays.
He did play Wales age grade. Played Wales under 20. Went to uni at Cardiff. Met. I think he was even schooled in Wales, but he was eligible for England.
When he's on the wing, big, rangy Pinot style can play.
He is
outside. I mean, he's not Pinot. We know this.
Hathaway is a long way from LTBP, and
that's why
Llewellyn is a long way from Pinot,
and that's why their budget.
Yeah.
But the more I watch Thomas Williams, the more I think
Bordeaux.
He has to go to France. Someone will pay him a lot of money to be a reserve. Anyway, Toulouse could pick him up. He could be like the third reserve to, take care of things on international weekends and get a fortune for it. The way he just picks the ball up from scrum off, misses 3, try, done, easy. Yeah, massive fan of Gloucester. So did you see the game?
No,
I didn't see this one.
I didn't see this one. I've seen the highlights, but I didn't see the game.
The first 3 tries are electric. They're absolutely electric. I have heard a little rumour that some of the Sale Sharks coaches are under a lot of pressure, to the point that they might even be on something in the region of like performance...
performance management.
Performance management stuff. So last week was obviously brilliant for Sale. I thought they were going to...
for friend of the pod, Byron.
Yep. I thought they were going to go to Gloucester and just absolutely end them. But they couldn't.
So did I.
I mean, they were so far off what Gloucester were able to do. And I think I'm just not sure their attack is up to it. Which is weird, because I know Paul Deacon, as an attack coach, can play, frankly, amazing rugby when he's left alone to play amazing rugby. But something's not right there.
Well, they did.
Tom Curtis was fly half.
Yeah,
I reckon George Ford over him was probably worth.
Yeah,
it's probably worth. It might even be worth the 16-point difference between the 2 teams.
But we've seen superstar fly. I mean, I think it's more than just a fly half. How well you attack.
No, I'm not saying
they attacked brilliantly last week.
They did.
Did they have George Ford?
They did. He went off in the last 10 minutes with a hefty knock.
I mean, you do have a lot of salary cap missing there, but your system should be able to overcome things, and particularly when you build your game plan on aggressive defence and turnovers. Mm-hmm. Now, if that's failing and you can't get your attack going, then you do have a problem. And they were scoring tries, but just it was a defence. They were just being cut to ribbons.
Yeah, they scored 3 tries, 2 after the game was already over, kind of last 20 minutes.
Yeah,
but I tend to agree, Tim. George Ford in that team, because they were so good last week, but in both defence and attack. But obviously not this week.
Gloucester hammered them in the scrum too.
To the point that I was sorry, just on the I was confused that they didn't just shunt Rob de Preer into 10.
Maybe as soon as he went to 10, he threw an intercept pass for what is effectively the game-killing try.
Fair.
So I kind of understand why they don't play Rob de Preer there.
And every game he plays at 13,
he gets better
he's going to be even better at 10.
Yeah, so they're probably just saving that up, aren't they?
Well, it's why Henry Slade is so good at 10.
Exactly right.
10 years in the Premiership as a 13.
You should be dynamite.
Yeah.
At that point, you should be absolutely dynamite. I'm wondering how much patience there is. If Sanderson does not make the playoffs, will this be the end of... I'm not sure it's the end of him as such, but the pressure must stop.
No, they'll just do a Dimes and say, right, it's year 0, starting from now.
Yeah. Year
Dimes
zero.
got away with doing that for 10 years without making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, it was a different situation, lads, okay? It's very, very different. Bring back Dimes, I guess. I reckon that there'll be a lot of pressure on Sanderson. If he misses the playoffs, it wouldn't surprise me if there are going to be wholesale changes.
So do we know how long Ford is out for? Because I think if Ford is fit, they probably do make the playoffs.
Got 2 weeks of Europe now, which, I mean,
That's good
Sale
for
probably
Sailor
don't care about.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
but they need to do something. They need to win some matches somewhere.
Yeah, but they're not going to win Europe.
No.
And so they've got to go all out for the league.
They're playing
Got to go all out for
against-
top 4.
They're playing against... They're going away to Stormers, aren't they? They're going back to South Africa. So you've got the Dupree clan going to Cape Town.
Yeah.
If they pick them. I imagine they would. And
Then travelling to... they host Toulon.
then they host Toulon.
19th of Jan.
And if Sale win away in South Africa, they will probably end up qualifying. But do they care if they qualify or not?
It's maybe a bit of a curse for them to qualify.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So, yeah, good win for Gloucester, though.
Yeah, I think they are...
Tell me a little bit more about the scrums. Because obviously...
Yeah, they got battered. I mean,
we were hoping for Sogbon, but he's now out for... He'll come back this season for Sogbon, unlike Mercer and Thorley are both ruled out for the season.
yeah, so Mercer... They were saying on comms that Mercer's probably gone.
Yeah.
That is just what
It's
a
a cruel blow.
disastrous couple of years it's been.
Yes.
I mean, he's a great player, but it's just he came back and we all thought, well, that's going to be an England spot.
And he's just not quite been there.
No.
I don't think
player.
he's a great player. I don't think on his form he's deserved an England spot.
No,
really.
I think I agree.
So
we can talk about Tom Willis and whether he does
so
in a minute.
yes, definitely talk about Tom Willis in a minute.
Well, I'm trying to think who the tight head was. Krill,
Gorotsev.
thank you.
Yeah,
Did an absolute number on Bevanrod.
This is it about Bevanrod. He's so good, but then when he's not good, he just gets pumped. It's just the English props. And it's just a curse.
So the point we were making the other week about the second rows behind him, it's not like he's not got big boys behind him.
Johnny Hill.
And
Van
Rijn.
big boy.
He's got massive second rows behind him. They're absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
So it's not that.
No.
And Opoku Forjo, so he was a tight head. He obviously played loose head more for the under-20s, but that was more because of Sogbon.
Yeah.
But he was brought into England as a tight head, wasn't he? And came off the bench as a tight head.
Yeah, I mean, they just battered them. They look better than Sale in defence, but is that because Sale can't attack? And then when Gloucester get the ball, my word, I don't even think. Well, I said it before, but I don't even think that their head coach knows what will happen next. I just think people are completely clueless. I tell you who did do well, Chris Harris. Chris Harris looked like he had a very good game.
Well, Chris Harris actually comes up in an email that we've just received just moments ago from...
Santi Carreras had one of his best games in ages.
Luke.
He's such a good player.
Luke, who's a Gloucester fan living in London, has got in touch. Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. And this, we can tie in with an incident that happened in today's game between Northampton and Bath. Luke says, "Hi lads, did you see the penalty given against Chris Harris for head contact in the latter stages of the Gloucester Sale game?
Did I see?
One of the most baffling I've ever seen." A quick summary of it, in case you haven't seen it. I didn't see this incident. He says, Gloucester play off the top at a line-out, and Seb Atkinson throws a flat pass to Chris Harris. But before Harris gets there, a Sale player...
Intercepts.
Intercepts it. There is a head clash between Harris, who had been running to take a pass, and the Sale player, who makes the interception. The Sale player needed to go off for an HIA, so the referee reviewed it and gave a penalty to Sale. It seemed like the most obvious case of a rugby incident, from what I could see in the ground. This is Luke talking.
Yeah.
He said as soon as the referee sees that there is head contact, he starts to apply the usual framework process.
Yeah.
Decision lacked common sense and empathy, and I'm not sure how Harris should recognise he has gone from attacker to defender
Thinks he's going to catch
in a
the
millisecond.
ball. Yeah, he thinks he's going to catch the ball.
This happened twice this week. So it happened with Harris, and it happened in the Northampton game as well.
Which is a different scenario. On
Different
the
scenario,
Mitchell Lawrence head contact.
What it has in common is players who are not attacking or defending without intention of touching the ball.
Yeah. So Mitchell in that
running a support line.
Yeah, he's running a defensive support line. Lawrence, he's not expecting to make a tackle. Lawrence makes the break. And Mitchell, I think, is actually trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
He's not trying to make a tackle. But he got a yellow card in that.
Is there not another one?
Yeah, there was another one in that game. I forget which player it was.
Wasn't a Mitchell
but I
one.
think, was it Quinn Rue?
Yes, it was Quinn Rue.
It might have been Quinn Rue, but yeah. So this is one where the referee
got it right.
The TMO got onto the ref and said, "You need to look at that. You need to look at this. There's been head contact." And what happened was, Bath player might have been Finn Russell, is running with the ball, and he's got, I think it was Quinn Rue, but if not, it was someone.
Yeah, it's Quinn Rue.
Coetzee. Anyway, it was a Bath forward who was running a hard angle just on whoever it was with the ball's shoulder, but the lift doesn't actually come in the end, and the player with the ball takes it in. However, the Northampton player and the Bath player running the running line, both just an incidental collision. Neither one is at fault, and that's where the referee came to. There was head contact, and the TMO.
It was a nasty hit.
Yeah,
really
and the Bath player had to go off with an HIA, but thank goodness the referee on that occasion went, "Hold on, accidents happen. Why? How is that foul play?"
Because the only way to avoid that, I mean, who is responsible for going low? The defender.
Yeah.
But there isn't a.
That's what he was saying.
It's not a tackle situation.
The TMO was suggesting that the attacker
be going low. Yeah,
was upright and made head contact with the Northampton defender.
This is where it's problematic, right? Because if it was the defender that hit the attacker, that would have been a yellow card.
Because it's tackle without the ball.
But because the attacker hits the defender in the head,
the attacker draws contact.
Yeah, well, he's expecting the ball in an upright position. As opposed to what? Like, how do you receive the ball?
Fortunately, there was the referee, who I quite like this guy. He's
Woodthorpe.
Double-barreled name.
Woodthorpe.
Or Woodthorpe, yeah. I like this. I like this ref. Anyway, he made a very sensible call and said there's no foul play there. So,
yeah, very
accidents happen. The Bath player goes off with an HIA. Fine.
I think the Mitchell one was only a penalty.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I would have been all right with that because it's low force,
totally,
and then mitigation because he wasn't expecting it. It's a line breaker.
But this is my.
But I was actually okay with Mitchell being a yellow.
Yeah, what I found, the bit that we haven't quite completed the circle. Well, no, maybe we have completed the circle because not only did Woodthorpe not give any sanction, said there's no foul play on. The guy goes off for an HIA. Oh well, accidents happen. The commentary team, David Flatman said, well, I don't understand where the foul play is there. Ref's absolutely spot on, ref. And then Hugo Monnier.
Even Hugo Monnier. Something about head contact, something has to be done.
Yeah, he said that there's been I can't remember what the...
he says something like there's a culture where if there's any head contact, something has to be done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Just on a word of caution on Hugo's comment there. If Flatman would have said the opposite, which is somebody needs to be held accountable for this, Hugo would be, yes, you're absolutely right.
Agreed with
completely agreed.
Quote unquote, there has been a frenzy surrounding head contact. And like if
no one more frenzied.
As I know, there's been a frenzy around head contact.
Well, what I would say with my glass half full, if that's coming from Oogs, then we've got there.
Yes, because he is a weather vane of consensus opinion. Maybe it's been a frenzy of head contact. You're right. We're going in the right direction.
And that does tie in with Rob Baxter, who you shared a little video of Rob Baxter speaking after the Leicester game.
Yeah, saying that he was disappointed about Will Rigg. I mean, what does he do? If you want a contest in the air, let him contest. Otherwise, he's going to be underneath the player, and they're going to fall over him in his yellow card. So they can't both be yellow cards.
So I did. This is one of the very, very, very vanishingly few times.
Don't you dare disagree with Rob Baxter.
I didn't 100% agree with Baxter on that because I did. So on that, Rigg was fully sprinting to get anywhere near that ball, jumps several metres before it. As a consequence, he's always going to get low. He's trying to tap back, but it was like a kind of Hail Mary play from him. He he either knew or should have known, which is World Rugby's definition of reckless, that he was doing something that was dangerous and might cause a penalty. And he put himself into that position. As it played out, Freddie Stewart, one of the best in the world at getting up in the air, got up in the air quite high, takes the ball, and then after Wilrig makes contact with him in the air, as Wilrig is falling down, he kind of hooks Stewart's arm. So
yeah.
I did have a little bit of sympathy for EggChasers because they were leading at that point, and that was the turning point in the game.
Yeah. Do you not think that's a good standard, though? So one of the standards I hate is not in a realistic position to catch a ball. So my standard is, if you're going up and there was not an opposition player there and you catch a ball, that is realistic. Not that you're in a worse position, just that it is realistic for you to go for that ball.
So it's interesting the phrase you've used there, because Wilrig was definitely not in a realistic position to catch the ball.
Yellow card.
He was trying to tap it back, but it was as a consequence of him having to be fully sprinting and jump from so far.
Yeah, actually, just on the terminology, you shouldn't have to be in a position to catch the ball.
No,
you should be in a position to
make a fair contest
to contest for the ball.
Because they do this with knock-ons, don't they? Was it a realistic attempt to catch? And the question should be, was it a deliberate attempt to knock down?
Yeah, but that's not how it is judged.
Yeah.
Because rugby does...
And what annoys me about that is I think you're able, as a ref, to say, yeah, there's malice there, yellow card for the deliberate knock-on. But I don't like it when... referees are perfectly athletic, but they're not these super athletes that play the game. Like, if they decide it's realistic for them to go for the ball, the chances are it's realistic.
But you know what? I'm just going to mention another podcast at this point. So I like Eddie Stevens and Rugby Ranter Banter. I like that. Eddie Stevens went and appeared on Tribe Talking.
Did he?
Podcast with Bentos as well.
Wonderful stuff.
A bit of a Christmas party episode.
Why they invite me?
Which on a very long drive back yesterday, I had me chuckling to myself with headphones on, driving in the car, shutting out the rest of the family. I was laughing my head off at some of this, but they were going through unpopular rugby opinions, which is something when I heard them do it, it's like, oh man, I wish I'd thought of that. I might pinch that in the future. Now I've given them a credit, I think I can.
Yeah, you can. You can reference it. You just can't be Claudine Gay.
I'll give him a credit every time. But what the one that Eddie mentioned was exactly that. He said he lives in America, in New Mexico, and so he speaks to like American sports fans whose perspective on this when they watch rugby was just like, well, why would the defender not try and do that? It's for the attacker to make sure he doesn't give a pass
that you
you can get to.
Yeah, but it is different because the knock on is a thing, and but it's terminology, isn't it? So like rugby, the laws are designed in a way that the referee is not asked to determine intent. You almost never have to determine intent before something happens. A couple of examples where you do need to determine intent. Did you deliberately throw the ball into touch? Mm-hmm. You can accidentally pass into touch, like Billy 12 Trees occasionally did. Yeah, but you can't deliberately pass the ball into touch. No, he didn't
pass it. He mispassed into touch.
Missed three into touch. And you also can't signal to kick at sticks and then deliberately crossfield kick.
Yeah, fair.
Do something like that. There's not many other deliberately, and even
isn't it like realistic position intent?
Well,
realistic attempt.
The deliberate knock on is, were you in a realistic position? So it's nothing to do with your intent. Now, if you do clearly slap the ball down, well, then it's not your intent; it's your action.
Your action,
yeah. So you slapped it down.
I'd say if you can get your fingertip to the ball, you are in a realistic position to.
Well, it's to catch it though. So are you in a realistic position to catch it? And the way this is often officiated, and so all that I'm fine with.
Yeah.
The way this is often officiated is, did he get one hand or two hands? Yeah. If you're in two hands, you're in a realistic position. If you got one, we've seen so many examples of like the best athletes in the world catching the ball with one hand. Finn Russell did an amazing one-handed pickup today. So it should be a slightly... there should be a slight...
calibration.
More forgiving towards the person trying to intercept.
So just on that, Denny Solomona back in the day... Rosendale's Denny Solomona, I might add. Is he in a realistic position to score a try? No, until he dives over somebody into the corner with like his feet and body over the dead ball line and scores. Like but he's a super athlete. Like if you just stop that and go, right, is he in a realistic position to score? No, he's not. That's why we pay them money
I think
to do unrealistic things.
But on that one, on the penalty try. would be, is something like more likely than not that he would have scored the try. It's not quite the same, and it's if it's not quite this, but if 2 out of 3 times they're not going to score that try, we don't give a penalty try. If 2 out of 3 times they are going to score the try, we give it as a penalty try. That's a decent. I think that's a fair standard.
I've got a great one, right? I think penalty tries. Do you know when they say was there cover? They should now have to assess if they think the cover's good enough.
Yeah, I love that.
You've got Joshua Tuasova 5 metres out, and covering is, I know, Ryan Lamb back in the day. There's cover. Wait a second, who is it? Penalty try.
I would love that.
Or it's Ibitoye, and he's only got to beat Will Stewart in the 5 metre channel.
It should be fine. Penalty try.
We did kind of have that with Tom Willis's second, I think it was his second try, where he breaks free down the right wing, and it's Rich Lane coming across, and Rich Lane is going to meet him on the try line.
That'll work.
Tom Willis basically just canters, knowing full well he doesn't have to sprint, because if he sprints, it actually makes the chance for him spilling the ball more likely. So he just goes at about 60% pace, takes the contact incredibly comfortably, bowls over him, and touches the ball down.
Yeah. That's a class try.
Tell you what, Comms was saying about Jack Willis. His statistics are remarkable.
Tom Willis.
Sorry, Tom.
I wish we could have Jack Willis playing for England.
But you need an 8 more than you need a 7.
It's an interesting one, because the 8 is currently Ben Earl. There's been 8 for England for the last year or so.
Don Brandt on the bench.
Don Brandt on the bench. But Ben Earl is currently playing 7 because Tom Willis is playing 8. Now, that's not like Henry Slade is currently playing 10 for Exeter. He's not being kept out of the 13 jersey. He's having to fill the 10 jersey. Ben Earl is being kept out of the 8 jersey by Tom Willis.
Yeah, Tom Willis.
He's playing some superb rugby.
He's playing, line breaks are up there, carries are up there. Statistically, everything makes sense. But I just still have some reservations. Is he going to be big enough or aggressive enough in international rugby? But I think just the weight of evidence from his statistics suggests that he deserves a go.
Yeah, and he's not a small boy.
He's not.
Do you know? Let's go to his
Saracens
6'5".
page.
I would say 6'4". I'm giving him a few Man of the Match awards. So I'm just thinking, I'd say 6'4" and
115,
112.
They've got it in. Why have they got it in pounds? Why have Saracens got it in pounds?
Cheating. I'm joking, by the way, if you're a Saracens fan.
Hold on, let me go to...
Oh, that's not right.
Tom Willis.
130 kegs.
I've got him here, and it's just listed as 6'4", 1m92.
Okay.
And 120 kilos.
Yeah, so
that's a big lad.
She's 18 stone dead.
So it's more than that, isn't it? 120. Closer to...
Oh, no, 18... No, it's
closer
almost
to
19.
90, yeah.
18 stone 12.
So
wow.
So
that can't be that big.
Hang on,
Can he be 19 stone?
I'll find out exactly how big he is. Give me 2 seconds.
His Saracens profile is doing to Tom Willis what the Lions profile did to Sam Simmons. Because it's got him listed as 224 pounds, which is 101 kilograms. Yeah, and that's definitely not right.
No, because 264 pounds is what he's listed at here in what I'm looking at.
So his Saracens is wrong. His Wikipedia has him as 120. I wouldn't trust that. And he doesn't yet. Does he have an England profile from age grade?
Anyway, he's a big boy. He's playing very, very well.
Yes.
In a position that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the top 14 season when he played there, so he's obviously been very heavily involved with Saracens, particularly this year, more so than last year. I think he had 13 starts for Saracens last year. He had 17 out of 22 starts for Bordeaux.
Yes. Yeah. And he was superb for Bordeaux.
He was good for them.
So I am fully behind Tom Willis. Certainly being in the England squad. I think he suits. I love Don Brandt as a player.
Yeah.
But I would have Don Brandt on the bench because he's a bit of versatility. He can play in the second row. But I think Tom Willis should be considered. He should be in the squad. There's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't be.
I don't think Don Brandt should be on the bench. I think there's enough game tape.
Yeah, we know what he is now.
Yeah,
if he's the best option. We know exactly.
He's very good.
But he's very good. Equally, like I was watching the the Quins Newcastle game on Friday night.
I did as well.
Little debate in comms about who their best back row is, because Chisholm, who played got man of the match. He was absolutely superb, and every time he gets the opportunity, he's
very important to them.
Yeah, he's
such
a hard-working.
Well for them.
And then you've got Kenningham, you've got Will Evans, you've got Dombran, and you've got the actual England starter amongst all of them in Chandler Cunningham South.
Complete luxury player for them.
Who is not... He's hardly ever,
well,
not never.
That Quins back row that played against Newcastle was their backup back row.
Yeah, well,
Will Evans and Chisholm. Well, Will Evans and Kenningham have been on the bench in recent weeks with Chandler Cunningham South, and Chisholm's been in the back row with Dombrandt.
Yeah, I don't think they know what their best back row. Well, maybe they do internally, but if you think about Will Evans, when he got injured, he's been injured twice. Oh, hang on, let's just find out. So this is directly from Tom Willis himself. 120 kegs, fluctuates between 118 and 120, and he's 6'3".
Okay.
No, sorry. Officially, he's 6'5".
Officially, he's 6'5".
He's not 6'5".
Look, if you're negotiating a contract, Tim, he's 6'5".
He's 19, just basically 19 stone.
2 pounds off 19
and moves
stone.
like that. That's international. That 19 stone. Get him in.
It is.
That's a big, strong boy.
He's playing so well as well. I think so if you've got Ben Earl in there and a Curry or an Underhill type, you need someone who can jump in the line out, which is why Cunningham South has been very useful, because you've had a Curry and Earl. But Tom Willis can jump in the line out. Like, there's no reason why you can't have him plus Earl and a Curry.
I feel like we just glossed over that. Was that actually from Tom Willis himself?
Yeah.
No.
No, it is.
That's so funny. I love it.
Tom Willis.
I want to see what's his background picture. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Right, so I'll turn off my notifications on. What was I going to say?
Who needs Wikipedia and the internet?
Well, Wikipedia is broadly correct in this instance.
So, back to back rows. I said a while ago that international rugby is about the potential. So a lot of people get picked. Oh my God, the upside on this guy is amazing.
Cunningham South and Faye were both so as two
correct
superb examples.
So I think that England will continue to go with Cunningham South because you just don't know where the side's going to end.
And he's 21.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. He hits like a hammer. He's got the rarest of all things, which is size, power, strength, the ability to play hard.
Half an hour, I reckon, 50 minutes in a game gone, send him on to go and ruin things, smash people.
You know, he leveled Bordeaux. When he played away at them, he absolutely killed them. So I think for Harlequins, for the Premiership, he's probably a luxury they don't need. Should they go deep into Europe, I think they do need him. So it's not an easy question. What you do with him for international, I don't know. Do you strap him on the side of a pack? Because he can be such a dominant force that, it's a difference maker. Or do you go with someone like, I don't know, Curry.
Willis, Curry, Earl, Underhill.
Something like that. And then have him on the bench. I don't know. But for Harlequins, it's a good question. Do they even need to keep him around? Because his next deal is going to be super expensive.
It is going to be expensive.
It's going to be right up there.
If the figures being reported about Lennox Anyanwu, obviously different player, but 300k in Montpellier, he's worth more than that.
Much more.
Chandler Cunningham South does get 150 grand from England.
Is he one
which
of
makes a difference? Yeah.
Is he one of the and again, that's back to the potential point.
Yep.
Because we don't know how high. What is his ceiling? We don't know yet.
No, I can see him moving on. Do you know who I think he would suit? Bath.
Bordeaux,
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, any of the French teams.
Yeah.
Bath for exchange for Barbary going the other way. Something like that would work. He feels like a Bath player to me.
Barbary doesn't work going the other way though, because of the riches that we've got. They've already got Dombran, and if they need a blunter tool, they've got Chisholm.
Yeah, it's true actually. Forgot about Dombran. Yeah, I don't know.
But he would suit Bath. Bath would just play him on the wing anyway.
True.
7-1 split in the Premiership. Is that a first?
Oh, well,
I think it probably is.
Is it?
I think I can't think
By
of
the
it
way,
being
are
done
we just going
before.
to gloss over the fact that Saracens dominated?
No, I don't think we need to gloss over it at all. We can talk about it. That's absolutely fine.
Did you see the game?
Yes, I did.
I was thinking about this during this game. If you were to rank Premiership halfback pairings, how low on the rankings would Saracens
Van
be?
Zyl and Burke would
Who?
be...
At the start of the season,
Yeah.
we'd not seen any game. Even the Crusaders had not
Yeah,
seen
Crusaders
any
don't know. Take him.
Fergus Burke. Whatever the Crusader, the Canterbury Mighty Cup team. If you followed them, you might have seen some of the game tape.
Yeah.
But I think he's, even in the time that I've seen him, I think he's now better than he was 10 game weeks ago. I think that's the best game I've seen him play.
Yeah,
I've not seen him every week.
When he broke through for the try, he looked very assured.
Yeah.
Above, now certainly above Stewart and Connon. Above,
Yes.
I don't know about that. But
above
still.
Randall and Worsley. Not Randall and McGinty, but Randall and
Yeah,
Worsley.
where's Randall and McGinty rank?
Well, McGinty's been
Like,
maybe the best,
right up there.
maybe the best 10 in the league
Yeah.
for the first half of the season.
The two of them I'd put up there, so it'd be close between
Spencer and Finn Russell.
Spencer and Finn Russell would be up there.
Pollard.
Van Portfleet and Pollard would be up there.
Mitchell and Finn Smith.
Mitchell and Finn Smith. There's some great
Very
combos
good.
there.
What about
Marcus Smith and Porter?
Porter over Danny Kerr now, isn't it?
It is.
Porter
I
seems
think
to be
Porter's
the number one.
the number one. Yeah, and we
Danny
had
Kerr and Marcus Smith might have been the star duo last year. actually.
Rafi Quirk, if he ever gets back fit consistently, and George Ford. Is
Yep.
not a bad combination.
Are we? Well, I mean, it depends how you class Fergus Burke. I know he's English eligible, but an interesting point was made by Rob on email. Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. He says, thoughts on the England selection, specifically at 10. No real personal preference, but I'd be interested to hear your collective thoughts on the current Premiership table that has all the top 5 teams being controlled by Englishmen. Oh, sorry. Has all the 5 teams being controlled by Englishmen propping up the table. So the table looks like this. If you take the nationality of the fly halves,
Yeah, go on then.
Scottish, American, Kiwi, Safa, Welsh,
Kiwi? Oh, Kiwi?
Fergus
Burke.
Burke.
Right, yeah.
So you go.
although he's
So
EQP.
1 to 10 is Scottish, American, Kiwi, Safa, Welsh, English, 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 English.
That is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit misleading due to the current champion being English. But yeah, it's a good point. It is.
Yeah,
It's only the current table, so it's a snapshot, not the end of the year.
Yes. That is an interesting point.
Mm.
But it is, not inconclusive, I'd say, based on sample size.
Yeah. Although we are 10 games in now, over halfway, but
Yeah.
so it's an interesting point Rob raises.
Now, my question: who do Bristol have in Europe? Clermont, actually, and Benetton first at home. So if they want to qualify, I guess they'll be trying to beat Benetton. That'll be the one they target. And then Clermont
They
away.
kinda- So they have got 0 points.
Yeah, they're going to lose away to Clermont, so one win's not going to be enough to qualify,
Hang on, if they beat Benetton,
which they probably will.
if they do that right, do they then try and qualify by beating Clermont?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
The difference with the Premiership is over other leagues is the Premiership they've played 10 games. They've only got 8 Premiership games left before the end of the season. The Six Nations is coming up at the end of the month. So I think they'll probably just squeeze what they can out of the lemon out of their players while they've got them. So
I think they go full ball against Clermont for that reason, as well as their...
Assuming they beat Benetton.
And then they've got
Yes.
Newcastle the week after that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And then you're into a bit of a rest period for the Six Nations.
Yeah. Do you know who they've got during the Six Nations? Reds, Ampthill and Bedford.
In the, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
Premiership Cup.
Premiership Rugby Cup.
So I'm just looking at that then because, and it's quite important, Bristol have been beaten twice now. They're lucky that they've got Newcastle because that's a great opportunity for them to start winning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could be a bit of a tailspin.
Yeah, they are. And the tailspin coincides with losing perhaps the 10 who's been playing the best rugby thus far.
Well, I'd say in the last month, the result against Leicester is the outlier.
Because they smashed them.
They got humped by, they beat them, but
Yeah.
they got beaten comfortably by Leinster and La Rochelle. No surprises there,
Yeah,
really.
that's hardly surprising.
And they got pumped by Sale, and then they lost this weekend. And in the middle of those 5 fixtures, they absolutely spanked Leicester.
It's very hard, isn't it, to get a grip on the league when it's so disjointed. So in my head, they're playing good rugby but lost 2. actually, when you look at it from a more holistic point of view, they're getting absolutely walloped.
But as the whole season, they've played brilliant for 8 league games or 7 league games, however many they've won, for the first massive chunk of the season, and then they're in a struggle for the last month.
Yeah. I wonder if, now it's been seen, I've said it before, you got game tape from Saracens, you got game tape from Sale. How you beat these guys if it's going to continue to happen?
It's so. I'm completely split on whether this is the brilliance of the Premiership or whether it's a concern for the Premiership. But the matchups make for completely different matches week to week.
They really do. They do.
No one would have seen that Sale dismantle second top of the league against Bristol and say, "Oh yeah, they're going to get hammered by Gloucester."
Conversely, people would look at Gloucester and look at Bristol and go, "They play similar."
True.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So Sale,
it's an obvious win for Sale.
Oh yeah. Well, that's kind of my point. That you would have thought, as I did, predict Sale win, and no, Gloucester smashed them.
Gloucester 3 points off top 4, which, bearing in mind what their start was like and how we thought they were going to go, come on, Gloucester.
Well, everyone's Northampton and Quins are right back in the hunt now.
Yeah. So, what about Northampton? Did you watch them?
I did.
That was a ridiculous game.
That was a nuts game.
This is why
game.
I think I can only watch one live game a week.
Too stressful.
It's so stressful, isn't it? It's so stressful.
It was such a good game. It was absolutely bonkers. The 3 tries in the first, whatever it was, 13
it was
minutes.
19-0 after 13 minutes.
It was going to be 120-0 at that rate.
So I was thinking, right, so here's how schizophrenic my notes are on this. About, 19-0 down, I was thinking, I bet Bath are regretting this 7-1 split now. Because
because as well, who'd already gone off? Pepper had already gone off.
Yeah.
So they brought Bayliss on.
Which is no problem. You've got a 7-2 split. Fine.
Yeah.
That's where you want to get your injuries.
Yeah. And then 10 minutes later, Will Muir pulls his hamstring.
Who I've never seen injured in my life. I didn't know it was possible. But yeah. So I'm thinking,
you can't have 2 horses on the field for too long. Hendy and Muir.
That is true. Hendy was ace.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes. So I was thinking, you probably would want something on the bench now with I don't know who, but you want someone on the bench to be able to turn a game, inject some pace.
It's not just the 7-1 split. It's the fact that the one player they had on the bench was Ben Schroeder. Louis Schroeder. That was just an odd. That the 7-1 is one thing, but 7-1 with that as your replacement is strange because South Africa do it when they have Grant Williams, who is a scrum half who plays international rugby on the wing.
Who's rapid.
Yes, he can play winger, but it's not because of what the multiple positions that Schroeder can play. It's the fact that everyone else can cover other positions.
Yeah, so I fully expected, because I saw the 7-1 split, when I saw Muir go down, I did not expect Bayliss to be the solution. I thought, right, well, Schroeder comes on at 9
Actually, I did expect
Spencer.
Yeah,
I did expect Bayliss to be the solution.
I'm sure he's done it before, hasn't he?
I think it was against Leicester earlier this year. He played half the game on the wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There was a great bit of comments from David Flatman. It's like, he's been training all week on... No, it was Nick Mullins. He's training all week on the wing. And Flats went, Tommy Freeman's been training 20 years on the wing. I thought that's a great point, isn't it?
What I also liked was the Mullins went, well, let's see how that works out for them then.
And actually,
there was just on the good bits of commentary from this game when Nick Mullins was promoting the TNT Sports who were doing the Women's Ashes in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's England women trying to win their first game in the MCG since 1947. And Hugo Monnier said, "What was it like on the day, Nick?" That was very unfair, but very good.
My favourite bit of comments from this was, I don't know really what it meant, but I knew what it meant, which is as Northampton were attacking, he said, as Northampton throw an extra few logs on the fire. Yeah. I don't really know. I knew what it meant, but I didn't really know what it meant. So I wish next time that someone's attacking, I want him to say something like, as Northampton butter just a few more parsnips. I think that's a great line.
It's also little things like when it was Thockenham Singer with that breakaway try with the Miles Reed intercept and then fed to Thockenham Singer, and it was a foot race and instead of and he scores, it's Thockenham Singer gets gold.
Yeah. Well, on the Gloucester game was the young Scottish guy. What's his name?
Jamie Lyle.
I am certain. I think he's going to be like the heir to Nick Mullins. Yeah. I think I was listening to his comms on. When was it? Friday they played. Saturday night. I can't remember. I thought some of these Lions are actually pretty good. They're not too out there. Tone it down just slightly, but very, very good. I enjoyed it.
As soon as we're talking about commentary, we got an email this week from Greg Taylor, which was, "Hello, boys. Can the TNT Sports commentary team stop apologising for swearing?"
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything. It only draws attention to the fact that something was said that most people probably didn't even hear.
It's a regulatory thing.
Yeah, I can answer this.
You can answer this. I can answer this, but
I can answer this.
You'll give them all.
No, they can't stop. They can't. Any program. So the one time when it's always confused me. I thought, why are they still apologising for swearing? It's an Ofcom thing. You have to.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
Immediately, it's an Ofcom thing. It's happened to me with live radio when I've been doing shows. Someone sworn. As long as you apologise immediately and with some level of sincerity, not just cracking up.
Yeah, not
saying,
I've got to apologise.
Sorry,
no one cares.
But as long as you apologise immediately, they go, "Oh, no worries." If you let it go, you will be fine and stuff. So people accept that it will happen, but you have to acknowledge that it's happened. And I appreciate what he's saying. Is you just amplify. Oh, well, swearing was there, and you might not have even heard it. But the one that always confused me is when you get the late game, and a game that finishes at 9:45 p.m. or 10 p.m.
Yeah. 8 o'clock kickoff. The second half is all after 9 o'clock.
Exactly. However, the watershed counts from when the show begins. Which is why...
So you'd have to start it...
Does it?
You'd have to have it as 2 separate broadcasts. The first half of...
Like they used to do back in the day, now follow the second half on BBC Two.
Yes, exactly that.
Exactly that, yeah. And then you could have as much swearing as you like.
It just
like
shows
rugby nights. That could be a new feature.
It just shows that all these regulators need to be abolished. Anyway.
That's the sort of thing that Dana White would do if he were running rugby within the current broadcast model. He would actually insist on some games every now and again starting after 9. The programme starting after 9 p.m. and you make a feature of foul language.
So first half, very humdrum. Maybe get the old BBC crew in. Mark Chapman can do something. It's just a bit boring. And then after half time, fireworks, lights up.
No, forget that. I want to hear Maggie Alfonsi just swearing like a trooper.
Yeah. Well, Maggie Alfonsi can stay because she's actually very, very good. And then we'll have a few others. I don't know who, but a few others.
Yeah, or you could even get trying to think of a good. Who would I don't know. Get Frankie Boyle coming and just absolutely shred. Not him. Old Frankie Boyle. Maybe not current Frankie
Dana
Boyle.
White in.
What happened to Frankie Boyle? Anyway, that's another question. We don't need to go there.
So, back to 7-1 splits. First thing I thought is they're going to regret this because I don't know how they speed up this game. But fair play. They sort of slowly creaked back into it. I mean, 3 tries.
Putting Thomas Dutoy.
No.
On the field.
The important part was getting those 2 tries back in the first half. So it kind of felt like touching distance.
Yes, true.
Thomas Dutoy did make a massive difference. And you thought...
Didn't he come...
He came on after about 50 minutes.
Then he came off and then he went back on again.
Did he go back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then having all those forwards come on at once, it felt like, okay, they're kind of in touching distance now. They can
Underhill as well. How could I not mention Underhill?
Christ, he hit. Well, he had a bad game. He had a good game.
I thought he had a really good game, but he gave away the penalty for the two. He gave away 6 points in pens.
Which basically was the difference. Even with Finn Smith not kicking his best game. Although, did you see Finn Smith's hit?
On...
somebody big.
It was on Reed. Miles Reed.
Yes, it was. He
absolutely
leveled.
Yeah. He's a very good player, and he's very physical. Because I don't think of him as an enormous player. He's not he's not as big as Pollard or Owen Farrell or Butch James or Kelly Haimawina.
He's tiny. He's very small.
Yeah. Well, he's not Marcus Smith or George Ford small, but he's not big. He's probably about the same size as Finn Russell.
Is he? Is he 6 foot? Is Finn Russell 6 foot? I think Finn Russell's torn
5'11", I would say 5'10".
Let's have a look. Finn Russell is...
He might be 6 foot.
I'd say he's probably 6 foot on the nose.
But, you know, if you look,
Yeah, he's listed as 6 foot on the nose, Finn Russell.
I don't know who does Northampton's recruitment, but they seem to be so good at identifying young players and bringing them through.
Well, the player that didn't get off the bench today, but they had a 7-1 split, but they didn't use one of their forward replacements. But he made his debut in the Champions Cup just before Christmas. But the name has been getting a lot of heat a little while, and I've mentioned him a couple of times, I think. But Kepu Tuipulotu is going to be a flipping star. 19-year-old hooker at Bath.
No, he was on today.
He didn't get off the bench, though, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did?
He came on right towards the end, so with 10 minutes to go. I thought, bloody hell, that's risky.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so I remember thinking, Christ, do you really... Because Bath's main threat was the line out and then going around the corner, just applying pressure and getting over. I thought, do you really want to take Tom Dunn off now? I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but then...
This kid is special.
Is he?
And he's Welsh qualified, but he's already been spoken to
by everybody.
By the England team. He got invited to training through the autumn with England.
Of course he did.
He's
such snakes.
So Finn Smith is listed as, on his England profile, he's listed as 5'11" and 88 kg. So not big.
No.
A little bit bigger than George Ford and Marcus Smith.
88 for that height for a fly half's not bad. That's
yeah,
like
he's
15 stone.
He's
14.
No, 14.
14
stone.
Oh, right, okay.
So
on this game, right? We've had several emails on this.
Okay, go on then.
Tom Lies has got in touch. Paul. Oh no, it wasn't Paul Crossy on that one. Anyway, a few people. Tom being the latest one that I'm looking at. He said, "Evening, gents. Thoughts on?" Oh, we've already spoken about the Ollie Lawrence and Alex,
Mitchell.
the Lawrence and Mitchell incident. And he said, "I thought it was play acting and the footballing equivalent of a dive."
I don't agree.
I don't agree.
I don't think Lawrence is that player.
No, and there was definitely a clash of heads. So I don't think it was play acting from Lawrence. I think he genuinely had someone else's face smash into his face at high speed. I do wonder if both of the players should have got off for HIA, though.
Yes, potentially.
Because I think that is and that kind of gets to his point that if you want to stop play acting, anytime you go down holding your head, legitimate or illegitimate, you have a HIA.
If a player like Lawrence, and you know how he plays, he's a tough player.
Yeah.
You know, if he stops running, it's for a good reason. So he should definitely have an HIA.
HIA,
I mean, that for me is like the minimum. Why is that guy who never stops running stop running?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's play acting at all.
So
I think he's got whacked.
I'm reading the end of his email. So easy way to stamp out that type of play acting is to get him off for a HIA.
Yes. Which
I agree with the HIA point. I just don't think Lawrence was play acting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I do, however, think that when we've warned against this, the fact that there has been a frenzy around head contact, and one of the reasons to step back from that frenzy is it does incentivise play acting, which we have definitely seen. Whether or not Lawrence did,
we've seen it in other other times.
We've sort of touched on any particular elements of any particular games that you want to talk about. We haven't really mentioned anything about the game Leicester-Exeter.
I didn't see it, so I couldn't really say.
It was so we touched on the Rig yellow card.
Yeah,
it was so Leicester scored the first 2 tries. Exeter came back into it. And they were 15-14 up with whatever it was.
60 minutes.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes to go when Will Rigg gets yellow carded. Leicester scored.
Hassel Collins had just scored before that.
Was it just before?
Oh, no, it was just after. No, you're right. It was just after the yellow. You're right. You're absolutely right.
They scored 7 points while he was in the bin.
Correct.
And then they scored with 3 minutes to go, 2 or 3 minutes to go. Ben Youngs went over. I did kind of feel a bit sorry for Exeter, even though I think the yellow card was probably on balance the right call. Leicester, so Exeter, good in defence, and there's a couple of lovely moments from Henry Slade at 10 that got their 2 tries for Wyatt. One with the crossfield kick and one the deception at the back of the scrum to put Wyatt away both times, who finished, the first one well, the second one.
I'll never understand how and why Henry Slade became some sort of scapegoat. So as soon as Farrell left, we need someone else to have a go at. Let's have a go at Henry
Slade. I think you make this up, because I never thought of Farrell as a scapegoat. I don't think of Henry Slade as a scapegoat.
Come on, autumn. In the autumn, Henry Slade got all kinds of crap.
From who?
From England fans.
Yeah.
Why am I not keyed into this?
So we discussed it on the pod But we discussed it from the perspective of, there's a lot of people saying Slade has to be out of there. We observed Slade being the dogleg, being at the dogleg of the defensive line, and we said several times, we have no idea, because we're not inside camp.
I do remember now.
Is it Slade who is 2 yards ahead of where he should be, or is everyone else 2 yards behind where they should be? But something was failing in the defensive line, and it might have been Slade's fault. It might have been the players around him.
Sounds like something. Yeah, it sounds like Owen Farrell's fault to me.
It definitely does. And Stuart Lancaster as well.
Absolutely right.
Those defensive patterns he put in.
May they never lose their jobs in Paris.
8 years ago. So Leicester didn't look great in this game. They just got over the line in the last 15 minutes. But Exeter equally, they played manfully, but they need a bit more in attack to break down a team.
After a couple of weekends of Premiership, I'm right back into it now. And that game today was just awesome. Northampton back.
Everything about it.
How it's so frustrating going, I'm right into it now, and I want to see how Exeter can they continue their thing.
Yeah.
Now we get 2 weeks of Champions Cup. Then you get, which is in and of itself, that's okay. That's how it always was. However, then round 11 of the Premiership,
1 week,
is the 24th of January, and the next game is 2 months later.
Yeah, it's like the
rubbish, isn't it?
End of
it's
October,
rubbish.
One game in early December.
It is a compelling competition.
It's rubbish.
I need to be in charge of the global league.
How can you build storylines, and what's the point of building storylines in the Premiership? Because who cares as of now, today? Who cares?
Yeah, because when you unpack the box in 2 months' time, it's not going to be the same. Like all the stories that we built are now completely irrelevant.
Yeah. I went to, was it last season or the season before? I went to Sale versus Saracens. It might have been end of last season. It was Sale's first home game for like 3 months. It was absolutely ridiculous, and they obviously, rightly and successfully drummed up support to pack out the AJ Bell. And won the game, and it was a great day, but it was one game for 3 months. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is silly.
Global calendar has to be a global calendar.
And it is the point being, it is a really good competition.
And
the table speaks to that. As we've already said, basically 1 to 8th could all qualify for the playoffs.
And this weekend, all the games were decided late on. Sale may be the one that booked it. That was only 16 points, but Sale got 2 kind of late-ish tries to get a bit closer. Even the Newcastle Harlequins game that we've hardly touched on, other than their second string back row. I watched it.
Yep.
Newcastle were very competitive for the first.
They are competitive, aren't they?
For the first 60 minutes,
but the Harlequins bench was just too good,
too strong. Yeah, and Harlequins for most of the game, it was only their driving maul that was the difference. Newcastle defensively shut them down. They forced the only real bit of attacking magic in that first half was the Marcus Smith try.
Do you know what I love?
The Jared Evans pass to Marcus Smith was amazing.
I love that Max Pepper plays professional rugby. I love that Max Pepper plays professional rugby.
And long-time listeners of the podcast will remember.
I spotted this guy 10 years ago.
Yeah. How old would he have been when you first mentioned him?
12.
It would have been.
We did a food and drink
2013 or 2014.
Yeah,
we mentioned this.
We did some sort of food 15.
Yes.
And JB, in order to complete his team, found this young junior player from a lower league grassroots under 13s team.
Bernard Castle
School. That's
and his dad's the headmaster there, or the
and he's actually playing professional rugby now.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone on any podcast anywhere has spotted a 12-year-old who has then become on. I mentioned it. Who's then gone on to become a professional player. Yeah, there you go.
The only person who holds a similar accolade is Eddie Jones spotting Marcus Smith at Brighton College.
Even before.
So you are more advanced talent scout than Eddie Jones.
Yep.
Easily.
There you go. Steve Diamond, as well as lamenting the maul issues, which is one thing to mention from this game, that the Harlequins got well on top of them. He also said, "My tan's gone now, so people can stop talking about that."
Who was talking about that? Hang on a minute. Steve Diamond's tan never goes.
It doesn't go.
That's like one of his signature things. His tan doesn't go.
It's like
his defences don't get softer and his tan doesn't go.
And what do you think? If you could say, right, so I'm just looking at now a quote from Steve Diamond from the rugby.
I'm actually in my Steve Diamond outfit.
From the
This is standard Steve Diamond attire. I've got my wash jeans on and a t-shirt.
Stonewash, quite tight jeans and a very tight black top.
I am ready to coach the Premiership defence.
What do you think? So from the rugby paper, Steve Diamond said a quote about what Newcastle must do now. What would you guess Steve Diamond would say? It's
have a good night out with the lads.
Oh, that's a great one.
That's a good one. No, it's not correct.
It's not a trip to Marbella or something, is it?
No.
What did he make them do? That was literally. I think I would have gone with that.
Nothing a few beers won't sort out. No, what he said was, we've got to go back to basics.
He's right. It's
day one of the Premiership season.
Yeah. Year zero.
Back to basics.
Tell you what, because Newcastle are notoriously complex. Hang on, boys, you're straying a bit here.
Back to basics. You can't get any more basic than.
That's how he wins his games. Great coach, remembers the fundamentals.
I did like, just on that, nothing a few beers won't sort out. Phil Dowson, post-match, obviously was enjoying the victory and the manner of victory. He was talking about the trips. So, the trip to, was it Pretoria they went to? Who did they beat away?
The Bulls. The Bulls in Pretoria,
Yeah, they beat the Bulls. And he's saying the European games like that are very special because it's an opportunity to go somewhere you wouldn't otherwise go. You go to a hostile crowd, blah, blah, blah. But he did say, and if you win, you get a great night out with the boys. And I thought that was a good little insight, because going away and like knowing that if you win, there's money in the kitty, you're out with the boys.
The money goes a long way in Pretoria.
It certainly does, and it's an extra incentive, and boys need incentives.
Tell you what, the incentive of even a small beer kitty is massive.
I remember a couple of times winning at your beloved Newbury, last game of the season, and there was an extra grand or a couple of grand in the kitty if we won, because it determined league positions and funding.
I've got an interesting question.
And we won.
I've got an interesting question for you, right? So I was in a conversation yesterday in Aspel Clubhouse, and I was with one of our other coaches who was up at Glossop, and he was talking to our president about money, as in like fundraising and sponsorships and normal stuff which rugby clubs talk about. And I made 2 points. The first point I made was I love how EggChasers ran, particularly at committee level, because you don't hear from them. And I think like one of the signs of a bad committee is what they're up to at all times. Like I literally have no idea what they do from day to day.
But everything works.
Everything works. The kit is there on time. The pitches are ready. Like it's well run. Everyone's nice. That is like what more do you need?
That is perfect.
If there's any politics in that club, I'm not aware of it, which is kind of it's an absolute credit to them, to be honest. But the second point was Glossop had this system of going around and talking to the community and generating interest, and they got really quite far. They got up to level 5, but of course with interest comes money. And I was thinking, like, if we did have the money, just say we just had a pot of money, what would we do with it? And I can't think of a single good thing to do with it. What would you do with your cash? I mean, bus trips, yes, a kitty here and there, but you don't want too much of that.
Yeah, put on lots of people. Let's take Rosendale as Denny Solomon as Rosendale as an example. Pay lots of money to players.
Yes,
and I do think above a certain level, obviously you have to, but I think for a club like Tok H or even a club, I've been to Glossop several times.
Level 5 now, right? So
5 or 6.
Why would you want to pay anyone to pay level 5?
Yeah,
I mean, what is it you're trying to achieve?
So I think a club like Tok H or Glossop or Aspel, seeing as you were there, they shouldn't be aspiring to that unless their aspirations are to go right the way up to the top.
Yes, that's the only time you should pay, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to go right. You have to be willing to go right the way up to the top.
Or potentially, if you want to be a babysitter team, say LFC.
Yeah.
Even then, the National League's great.
Yeah,
by being at a certain level, you then get access to those players and all the benefits that unlocks.
Yeah, but what are the benefits?
Sale FC,
you get the sale players.
Sale FC have become explicitly that, because the sale players used to go to the highest level, which sometimes was Manchester, sometimes was Sedge, sometimes was Mac, Fylde, Caldy. Just pick one of those teams over the last 20, 30 years. It's been one of those teams, but for the last, 10 years, maybe even slightly less than that, it's been Sale have been explicitly that. But I don't think that's a proper club.
No, that's fair.
They just have that.
Yeah, you say that, but when you go to Sale FC,
it's a good day out.
Awesome. So
yeah.
I think it's
different
in terms of support, but you couldn't just turn up there and train.
No, it's not.
It's not open to you.
Yeah.
So when you say a pot of money, do you mean like just a bank account with an amount?
Say if you just had say if you attracted 3 or 4 sponsors in Didsbury, big sponsors.
So you were going to raise 10 grand every season.
More.
Yeah. 20,
well, there's 2 things I'd be looking at if I were on the committee at Didsbury, and that were the case. Is one, what could we spend that might make a return? So to try and whether it's an asset like a tent, a marquee you could purchase, or
to what end is the return? Because if you don't know what you're going to spend it on, what's the point in getting a return?
Yeah, correct. Well, then,
That's it.
Yeah. So if it was, this is what I mean. So if you could take some money which turns into regular amounts of that money.
So you can guarantee.
So you can guarantee. But if it was just there's going to be a 10 grand surplus every year, and we might.
What should we do with this?
We might as well spend it. What I would do is things. You only train once a week. It happened at Newbury, and I loved it. And yes, there was. I used to get 25 quid a training session, so it was 50 quid a week for training, and then you'd get your money if you played, and an extra bonus if you'd win. But that was just covering petrol mainly. I was driving from Bath for a chunk of that, but it was just curry, just a free or meal after training.
I think that's probably one of the few things I'd do.
Yeah.
I would never pay a player. I might pay a head coach. I would never do anything which compromises the rugby club if it stopped. Does that make sense? So if we're doing something and then we can't do it next year, well, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So mind you, we train on a 3G pitch, and that cannot be cheap.
What about again, things which you could, and it goes back to Phil's point, where what's the point in making money if you just need to find ways to spend money? But what could you? I would just culture building stuff. So just basically any way that would get the lads sticking around at the club, either after training or, more importantly, on a Saturday after a game.
Give it to a social secretary. You can spend this on anything you want.
Yeah, like do some Saracens type stuff.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. So my 3 things would be to do spend money on training equipment, so you've got good training. So like even getting a gym.
Gym is a great shout.
Kitting out a gym, because it gets lads to the clubhouse more frequently, gets them in there earlier, gets them stronger. That might be a benefit, not necessarily. Get them some bigger biceps and bigger pecs that they're not going to be using a scrimmage.
Yep.
But so that'd be number 1. Number 2, a kind of regular incentive.
Not like a gym, a squatting room.
Yeah,
you know, only able to squat.
Squat racks. Squat racks is fantastic. So a regular incentive for performance. So something like we'll pay for Domino's pizzas after the Tuesday after a win, training session after a win, something like that.
I like that.
But only after a win, and then a less regular, but like a biannual or triannual incentive, where if you played, say, the first half of the season, you played a certain number of games, or a certain number of games for the twos, you have a bit of, this is where you give it to a social sec. You have a day out. Here's our day out. It's after this game. It's on the 8th of October. There's going to be 500 quid in the kitty, or we're paying for whatever it is, bowling or darts or electric shuffle.
The thing.
It's going to be this thing. It's going to be axe throwing or whatever it is. Or we've got 500 quid, so your first 2 hours in the pub.
I'm going to... Right. I think, okay, now I'm starting to think, okay, so I spend my first £1,000 on holding a party in the club, whatever date it is, like social. But the £1,000 is there to attract local netball teams.
Girls route free.
Yes. Ladies' Day, netball ladies' day at the club. That's exactly what I'm doing. Or the hockey club. We had the hockey club test out our facilities to see if they wanted to use it as their clubhouse. They came 2 weeks in a row and they loved it. It was like the lower decks of the Titanic. It was absolutely wild. But we didn't have plugs in the changing rooms, which is lucky, bearing in mind it's just flooded. But that was the deal breaker, because they can't dry their bloody hair.
The plugs, sockets.
So
Yeah.
An above flood level hair drying station.
But it's going to have you're going to have like a 7-foot hockey player to be able to use it.
Exactly right. Yes, I can't really. But the point I was trying to make is like I just can't think. Doing clubs like, we just don't have enough money. It's like I can't think what you want to spend it on. Drainage, mowing the lawn. I mean, a gym. Like they make it so. And how many clubs end up just being facilities management firms? Like, we're just running the clubhouse. Well, for what reason? Just for the sake of it.
Well, because the gym, it has to be open.
Yeah.
There's no point having the gym that you can only go for 1 hour once a week.
And the gyms are ferociously competitive. It's not like you're going to build something better than Pure Gym.
No, but you could build it cheaper, as in if it comes free with your subscription.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Trying to replicate it's not right. But if you had 4 lifting platforms and 4 squat racks, and that was just your gym.
And here's the thing about the squat racks: we put on an amount of weight, we glue it on.
Like, minimum.
Yeah. So you can't go in there for
bicep curl.
Yeah. If you can bench press it, fair enough.
Yeah.
But we start the weight at, I don't know, something 130. So if you want to squat, you're serious. But you can't be. I mean, okay, fine. Some people can bench that, but you've got to be squatting or deadlifting. And I think that's a really fair compromise.
I would request it a little bit lower than that.
120. Where would you like to start with? What's the highest weight you could lift cold?
What do you mean?
Highest weight?
Lift with what? How?
Squat, cold lift.
I don't want to get injured.
That's why it's so we came up with a concept in our CrossFit gym called the cold clean. Right, no warming up. I'm not even entirely sure you're allowed to change your shoes for this. Maybe you have to do it in work shoes. What's the point in functional fitness if you can't do it from cold? So the cold clean is no warming up. How much can you clean? I've done 110. That's my cold clean.
I can. My hamstrings they're on the verge of popping just listening to you talk about that.
Functional, right? So I like the concept of functional fitness, and I used to have a CrossFit coach who would just every now and again he'd do like an exercise where you had to go for a 400-meter run with a big medicine ball on your hip. And I remember I said to him, like, why on your hip? He went, well, functional fitness. Like, imagine you had to pick up a kid and run with it. You'd hold it under your arm, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So it's like,
a 9-kilogram fat kid.
No, medicine ball. Medicine ball, like 20 kilos.
If you've stolen a toddler, right, and it's fat, and you want to go 400 metres, this is your gym.
But functional fitness, when would you? Can you conceive of any situation in life where you would need to press up upside down with your hands?
Yes, falling down a well. Fell down a well, got to get out.
Fell down a well, and yet the best way to jump up to get to the edge would be to
I'm upside down, so I can't rotate
press ups
rather than jumping and grabbing it with your hands.
Yeah, I can't rotate, so I've got to push my way out of the well.
On functional fitness, so one of Claire's uncles is a bit crackers, very very nice bloke. For years, he's like badgered me for like fitness tips. He's in his 70s, badgered me for fitness tips, and I've like told him little bits. And but what do you tell a 75-year-old man who doesn't do any fitness,
squat,
but wants to know fitness? I've told him that, but he doesn't have a squat.
No one listens to you, do they?
Yeah, no one listens. But that's all too hard. That's all too hard. So anyway, Easter last year, so whatever it is, 9.
Does he look like RFK now?
Not quite. Yeah, so he was badgering me again, and I was like, what, have you ever done any fitness that you've liked? And he said, the thing that I like most, I had to dig a hole at the back of my garden, and I loved digging, filling a wheelbarrow, and taking it, and going to the front, and doing it again and again and again.
Why does he know Ukraine?
He's been filling sandbags in Ukraine. So I was like, you know what you should get? You should get some kettlebells. And I said, here's a load of videos.
Great shout.
Here's a load of videos for use of kettlebell. I'm not going to teach you. Here's a load of videos. You can do farmer's walks, like you're pushing a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, love this.
You can do your swings. You can do your squats. You can do your cleans. Anyway, 9 months ago, I've not seen him for 9 months. Went to his house over Christmas. He like cornered me. Not even taking my shoes off. He's like, I love those kettlebells.
Really?
I've been using them every day for 9 months.
That's awesome.
Brilliant.
And what's he gone up to? Bet he's upgraded to like Joe Rogan, gorilla ones now,
sculpted ones. No, it's just a really good thing.
If
you had to have one bit of exercise equipment, I think it's a good shout that kettlebells is.
We
the
say
one
one
thing.
bit.
Well, as in
Barbells. Obviously, I'm going with the barbell, but then it'd be kettlebells, definitely.
Yeah. Barbell. So I do almost everything just with a barbell and a rack. I do my chin-ups with a barbell and a rack.
That's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all you need.
I do bench, I do deadlifts, I do squats, I do cleans, I do overhead press. But because of the height of my gym, it's in the cellar, I have to do it kneeling, which is
strong.
Strict.
Oh,
no, not try. I do
strict.
such...
No, you will be strong.
I do horribly low weights.
That's because you're not cheating.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely not cheating. I'm on my knees. There's no cheating.
Lieutenant Dan press.
That's what learning to throw into the line out on your knees is how to do it.
That's a great shout.
Yeah, you often when you see the pros warming up, they do that.
Because you just engage your core then.
Oh, we have got some games to review for next week.
Champions Cup.
We also mentioned them in our roundup, I feel.
Oh, there are some pretty tasty Champions Cup games.
Go on then. What are the...
Well, so Friday night's Glasgow, isn't it, against Glasgow Racing?
When it's PCS time, you know the drill. Pack, research to new base, get the kids in school, because family supports family. At American Public University, we support military families with flexible, affordable online education that moves with you. As a military spouse, your tuition rate is the same as your partner's, just $250 per credit hour. American Public University, education that moves with you. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.
Dan Lancaster. So Scotland's Dan Lancaster.
Scotland's Dan Lancaster playing away in Glasgow.
Now that is interesting. Not Scotland's Dan Lancaster. The URC, because they only have 19 regular games, something like that. Because they don't all play against each other twice.
Not
they
even
play the
that, I don't think. Yeah, they play everyone in their own conference. So the people from their own country, or Scotland and Italy in theirs, home and away, and they play everyone else home or away.
Yes,
kind of like NFL.
Yeah, so they had a full rest week this week, whereas, for example, La Rochelle, well, they sent their full team, but they had at home their full team, but only won by 3 points against Toulouse's second/third team.
Yeah.
Bordeaux Exeter?
Let's go.
Exeter.
So we've got Glasgow Racing. Glasgow will win that
home
game
and
cement their place in their pool.
Travelling to Cape Town. We mentioned
Sailing Cape Town.
Oh, I see how you're doing it. Yeah,
that'll be good fun.
1 p.m. game. Stormers will win that one.
Yes,
maybe.
Exeter Bordeaux. I think Bordeaux rested. They did pick a few of their big names.
You've been to Sandy Park on a match day. I've not. I've played at Sandy Park, but I've never been to a game there. The most French atmosphere, would you say,
of the English clubs?
When it was full the other day, when they went against whoever it was, it looked dynamite.
Yeah.
And they beat Gloucester.
I think that's fair. Possibly, no, I'd probably say when it's really bouncing and the shed is full, Gloucester's probably the most French.
Yes, that's a good shout.
But yeah, Exeter not far behind on when it's really bouncing. Exeter hosting Bordeaux is a pretty cool game. Bordeaux, they did rest, there was no Penaud.
Yeah, they did rest a few players.
Yeah, I'm confident on
so
that result.
Bordeaux are going to win.
We'll win that one. Sharks Toulouse, this is tasty.
I can't wait to see the team.
Are Sharks
I'm
likely
so
to be
excited.
able to stand up to Toulouse, realistically?
They've got a Springbok pack.
They have, but they don't play together unless they're in green. It's
they
very...
will play this. They've got to.
I mean, it's one of those things, it's like...
They've had rest week.
All great players, but they just don't play together. I mean, is there really a team ethos at Sharks that says we want to go out and win this?
So I think they're going to go full... They're going to field the strongest team they possibly can, and I think Toulouse are going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Toulouse will win. I think Toulouse will win at the Canter.
I'm not sure at Canter, but I think they will win. It's hot. It's blimmin' hot in Durban at the minute.
It will be.
But I'm just so excited to see this game.
I mean, Toulouse, it's not hot right now. It gets hot in summer.
Fair. Yeah, very fair. So, sorry, Exeter. I love Exeter Chiefs, and I really enjoy Bordeaux. I will be watching Sharks v Toulouse.
Yep.
The 5:30 kickoff on Saturday is Munster Saracens, one of the hardest to call this.
Also one of the great European fixtures.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh, the man in his deck shoes approaching Billy Vunipola.
One of the all-time such stupid moves.
Such a good picture.
I wonder what he's doing there. The man in the deck shoes. What a hero. What was his problem?
Boat shoes and chino shorts.
Do you remember what the problem was?
I can't remember.
I think it was because Vunipola had liked the Izzy Fallout.
I think it is.
I think that might be what it is.
Right.
And he's going to teach him a lesson. How dare you like someone else's tweet?
How dare you put a little like on a tweet?
God, he really does seem like yesterday's man.
Or an Instagram post. Yeah. Things are changing. Things have changed.
Thank God.
It's
Thank
good.
God.
The Overton window has shifted significantly. I'm going to go Munster by 2.
Ooh, give me Saracens.
It's going to be close.
That is going to be a good game.
Stade Francais, the other 5:30 game, which again it takes second billing to that one, is Stade Francais against Northampton.
Oh, I don't know.
Stade Francais have not got a single point yet, have they?
No, they haven't.
So
And Northampton are top, so give me Northampton.
Yeah, same. And then the evening games are Castres against the Bulls, which probably Castres will win that one.
No,
Castres, have they won a game? They sent an absolute
they won at home.
second
They
string.
won at home.
Yeah, so they sent a second string away.
I couldn't say a single thing about
Bulls
Overton.
Bulls will do a Bulls/Castres and send a second string away. Castres will do a Bulls/Castres and play a full string at home.
And
First
win.
team at home and win.
But a bit more interesting is Leicester Ulster.
Oh, come on, Ulster.
Will they win? Are they
No.
any good?
No, and not really. They
Brilliant.
currently have 0 wins and 0 points from 2 games. So
Leicester Tigers will win this one.
I'm afraid they will.
Crikey, Sunday's got a good game.
Sunday, yeah.
Yes.
1 o'clock kickoff, Toulon Harlequins.
Yeah,
So that'll be a great game.
nice appetizer.
Yeah.
Appetizer
Hors
for,
d'oeuvre.
I'll go for Toulon winning at home. They're very good this year.
Yeah.
Then this Titanic.
La
clash.
Rochelle, Leinster, 3:15 Sunday afternoon.
So, this is the kind of point I was making before. La Rochelle's preparation for this was they had a 60% strong team. They didn't have the full team.
Hastoy didn't start, I noticed.
No, but Ihaya West started, obviously, second choice, 10. But they had Bryce Doolan, they had Dylan Lades, they had Ujay Sautini, they had
Caballo,
Tony Aldrit. They had
Tololatu in the front
What's
row,
his
Red
name?
Awardy and a Weenie Antonio.
English, Owini Antonio,
Budon.
the English winger, Jack Noel. They had it was a 60+% strength
Bottier
team.
on the bench. Yeah.
And they only just snuck past with an 82nd minute penalty, second or third string to lose, whereas Leinster have been fully rested for a week. They played 2 weeks ago against Munster, handily beat them away, and they've then been preparing solely for this game.
They're just resting to lose a final, aren't they? That's what they're doing.
So I think Leinster are going to win this. And La Rochelle, I was disappointed in. I was expecting them to put that Toulouse team to the sword.
I actually think it doesn't matter about La Rochelle playing. I don't think it matters about Leinster not playing. I really don't think that these things matter nearly as much as people think. I think what matters more about this is actually this is now a true European rivalry. And not only is it a European rivalry, it is one that involves a man who I don't think likes Leinster very much.
No, I'd agree.
I mean, I think he actually really dislikes them quite strongly.
I wouldn't actually go that far. I would say he loves beating Leinster more than he dislikes Leinster. He loves beating Leinster.
I think he lives for this.
Yes.
There's no way La Rochelle are not going full out of this.
They absolutely will do.
The atmosphere in that ground is going to be mad. It's going to be so fun to watch. Excuse me. And who cares about Bristol Benetton, unfortunately, at the same time.
Nope.
Yeah.
And then Bath play
Bath
somebody.
Claremont.
Yeah.
Bath need to win this, do they not?
Yes.
Yes.
And if they do...
Well, because they've lost their first 2 games, didn't they? They lost at home to La Rochelle. And then they blew their lines because they took a weak team away to Benetton and lost that.
Yeah.
2 losing
so
bonus
they'll do
points.
Claremont and potentially...
They can go through for an away round of 16 win if they win that.
Yeah, they've got
last two.
Leinster and La Rochelle in their pool. So
Yeah, because realistically, they're not going to have a better chance to win Europe.
well, they're going to be away in the knockouts.
Yeah, but even so, this
Yeah.
team
Oh, but
does-
I'm
they've
just
got
going to say, So they travel away to Leinster in their final game.
Yeah, so that's
They're not winning that.
so they have to beat.
So I'd say they're going to get like they're going to end with 8 points probably as a maximum, a losing bonus point and 5.
But even if they're away, my point being, in terms of English teams, nobody is more powerful with the first 15 and the bench when they're all fit. I don't think Thomas Dutoy is going to stay forever. I don't think
Finn Russell can't stay forever.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, this is as good a team as they'll have for a long, long time. So if they want to do something in Europe, it has to be now. Now, I don't think they can.
I would disagree.
I
would disagree with you that they can do the best. Well, purely because Northampton at home is a very different proposition, and they're currently top of their pool with 2 wins from 2. So are Saracens, 2 wins from 2, and they've got pool 3 is an easier pool.
Who do you think goes further in the knockout stages, all full bore, or has the best chance to progress in the knockout stages?
Out of the English teams?
Yeah, I think it's Bath.
Whoever comes through in the top 2 positions out of Saints and Saracens.
Yeah, so your question is, ignoring where we are now, if you started this season afresh...
Oh, right, yeah.
Who is that team? To actually win it, I think Northampton will be in a better position, but they're going out, so we don't need to worry about them.
It's just the pool. When you look at the pools, unfortunately, Bath are in a rock-hard pool.
Yeah.
And so are Leicester, in fairness. That those pools 1 and 2 are significantly tougher.
And it used to be
than 3 and 4.
Being in a pool with an English team meant you were in a rock hard. I mean, that's what it used to be. And now it's like, oh God, no.
Yeah, well, La Rochelle looking at where they're going to get their away win. Oh, yeah, we're travelling to Bath, away win.
No worries, get it there. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, there was one other game which I watched and I haven't spoken about yet.
Oh, go on.
This was the Bristol versus Gloucester game with, how do I say her name? Ilona Moore. So I felt this was very interesting. So
what made you watch it, firstly?
I felt I had a duty to watch it, really. So I thought people have actually got in contact with me about this. 15,000, this is 15,000, 8,000.
About 10,000.
Yeah, so
9,500.
The point is, a lot of people.
It was more people that have watched a women's Premiership game when it's been a standalone event than ever before, because there was that situation where last week the Harlequins were saying, we had 32,000 people watching Harlequins women, a record, which is like, that's great, but they're there to watch the men's team.
Yeah, exactly.
A proportion, a big proportion.
So the first thing I'll say before I go into this is that if you want to know about the women's game, like really want to know, and you're really interested in Ilona Moore, go and find a podcast that deals with it each and every week. Because
Nick Heath.
Yeah, people have been doing this for years, and this is their time. Go and listen to their stuff, not mine, because I'm not going to do it forever. So I don't want to be cashing in on this. Not that I think there's anything to cash in on. However, go elsewhere because they deserve your listens. Finally, something has happened. So first things first. Before the game, I was thinking, what is the best case scenario? Like, who would warrant an 8,000 crowd out of nothing? So we're looking at 8,000 new fans, effectively, right? And you're not talking about like an 8,000 crowd because they go there every week. You're talking about brand new fans. And I was speaking to one guy whose daughter plays university, and I want to say Falmouth plays rugby there. Was asked for tickets to go and watch this singular player. So
that's
it
awesome.
Is,
that's
exactly what you want. So great. I think the other mistake a lot of people have made in rugby is, well, women's rugby makes this and men's rugby, which is comparing the two sports. If women's rugby gets massively successful, that isn't any shade on the men's game, but vice versa, right? So I think comparing them is kind of stupid. They can both be as big as they can get. Now, what is the best possible scenario? If you like TikTok and you like clips of like, I don't know what's on her TikTok, but if it's like quick 20 seconds, 30 seconds of action, I'm afraid to tell you, you're probably not going to get that. And I was thinking, like, who would warrant that kind of attention? Cheslin Colby twice a game? But potentially not at all?
Yeah. It might be 4 times, it might be 0.
Yeah, and it could be 0 for the next 4 games.
Yeah.
And then 8 times. So like, he would be the best example of what I'd hope to get from a TikTok, my TikTok experience of action on every swipe compared to what rugby really is. So I think maybe there should be a little bit more sort of setting the expectations. So I watched this. The first thing I'll say about Ma, she is a magnificent build. I mean,
she has got an impressive physique for rugby, hasn't she?
Yeah, I looked at her. It's like, yeah, okay, I can see like she does look. She looks a pot
when you see her stood next to the other players.
Yeah,
yes, she should be playing rugby.
100%. And also her shorts. She had the shortest shorts on of anyone, and I'm as you well know,
big fan.
I'm a huge advocate of short shorts,
yes.
Male or female,
always.
So tick. But after that, it kind of died away. And I'm kind of a bit worried that if you were into this and you thought that you're going to see action from start to finish, you will actually be put off a bit. Because she had one intervention of note where she missed
did
50-50.
Did the commentary do, would you remember when Burgess came on, and every time Burgess was at a ruck, someone did an amazing bit of skill in the break. And, fantastic ruck there.
Yeah, fantastic clearing.
Great clear out by Sam Burgess.
He is learning fast. That kind of stuff.
Did they do that?
No, they didn't. They did something more annoying.
Did they have, because on the Burgess one, because he came on in like the 55th minute or something, because he'd been on the bench, but for the previous 54 minutes before he came on, they often had the picture-in-picture of Sam Burgess. They had live rugby going on the main screen, and then picture-in-picture of Sam Burgess sat on the bench watching intently.
I was here for it. I was so hyped.
100%.
Yeah, well, so this has happened to me, right? The more effect has happened to me, and I've done this. I went all the way to, was it Luton? Not Luton. Watford, to watch the debut of one Andy Farrell. I went to that game.
In 2006,
I went to that game. Yeah.
Maybe?
And much like Mark, I'm not entirely sure they knew what he was, where he was going to play.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he came on at flank. My overriding memory of him was him on the exercise bike on the side. Right, and I watched this, and we didn't get into the second half, which was fine. And then on the second half, he didn't get on for until 10 minutes, and he did absolutely nothing. Less than I can't even remember who he played against.
So how did Ilona Mar get on in her 20 minutes that she played?
Well, unsurprisingly, she did nothing. I mean, she had a 50-50 contest. This is not her fault. She plays on the wing.
I was going to say, well, no, she doesn't play on the wing. She doesn't have a position in 15s rugby.
Kind of like Sam Burgess.
Yes.
So it reminds me of Sam Burgess. Like, all this hype, it's going to be great to have Sam here. Slamming Sam. Certainly caught Stuart Lancaster off guard. And I just wonder, it's not done more damage, but some of the comm stuff, it was remarkably poor. And rather than focusing on, I mean, they did talk about the rugby, but it's hard to watch. Women's rugby is incredibly hard to watch, not because of the standard. The one positive I would say, there's a few positives, but the overwhelming positive I'd say is actually if you watch that, if it's your first exposure of rugby and you know what you're watching, that's the other thing, because if you don't know what you're watching, it's all a mystery. It was quite good. Like, the skill level was really quite good. And I'm not saying that it's not damning with faint praise. I mean it. It was pretty good to watch, but it's not men's rugby. So obviously, it's less developed. It's definitely less powerful. It's slower. All these other things. The commentary though was almost unbearable. I mean, it's almost unbearable. Role model this, role model that. 8 million TikTok followers. Like, that is not important. What is important is, can she slam into other women and cause huge amounts of damage? That is important. Right?
Can she break a tackle? What's her yards after contact?
Yeah, these are things. And then as I was getting more and more wound up with this broadcast, I was like, just stop a second. Have I missed the point of the broadcast? Is this like how women's rugby should be done? Which is, it's not aimed at me, because I have a sport. And I'm never going to watch women's premiership on a regular basis. It will never happen. I might watch the final of the World Cup in the same way I watch the final of the Football World Cup, but I'm not going to be watching women's rugby possibly ever again. I think many people that are like me will also not watch it. So they have to attract a new type of fan. So maybe this is exactly what they need to be doing, which is saying, what a role model. No, that's as she come off the bench, she is a example of body positivity. I'm like, well, it's easy to be body positive if you're built like a hyper athlete, and also it gives me an excuse to talk about her shorts as well. You can't be body positive and not allow me to mention your shorts.
Yeah. I'm slightly confused by that statement. We all have a daughter.
Huh?
What I don't understand. What is that?
It's like making.
It does sound like a bit of a backhanded compliment, doesn't it?
Well, if that's her thing,
or it kind of sounds like, aren't you doing the very thing you're trying to get away from? You want these people to be treated. It's a bit like the way quite things people get re-racialized, like like their identity gets brought up. It's like, hold on, isn't the whole point that we're trying to? It's about the content of your character, and why are you bringing it up? It's almost like by bringing that up, you're almost saying, look, this is a woman, and I don't know.
Wait for
it,
though,
feels
Tim.
weird.
Just wait for it. So I did watch it with my rugby head on. I want to see what the quality is like. I want to see what they do.
Yeah.
Gloucester Hartbury are a much better team than Bristol, but by the way, much better team. Two things: a beacon of body positivity, followed by she's also a swimwear model. Now, if I'd have said that, right, on this podcast, I'd probably get a complaint saying, "Come on, JB, you're better than that. She's more than just a swimwear model." But that's what was on the broadcast. So I'm thinking now,
what are they? What?
well, but Tim, I think you're missing the point.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You're missing the point. I think maybe they're on something here, which maybe this is what women's rugby should be.
Yeah,
which is
okay.
this broadcast celebrating the wider things which I don't care about. Because I will never care that you're a body positivity. In fact,
but that's fine. But then don't insist that everyone treats it the same as men's
correct.
rugby.
Correct, Tim, and that's where I'm coming to. Because I'm never going to watch this product ever again. And I was thinking, well, so what is the product? So maybe it is like you watch it just so you can be peppered with anecdotes about how great certain women feel that they are on occasions or something like that. I don't know. Positive messages over and over again. I'm not into it, but presumably someone else is.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But then I think, like, well, why would you watch this rather than roller derby? If you want to see big physical women...
I'm just imagining that. Like, because bearing in mind, commentators give you a bit of social ammunition. They'll give you a fact that you can then go and bring up in the pub later. Yeah, it'd be hilarious. Just go up to some of the women's players at Didsbury. Oh, yeah, I watched a load of Mars. She's a great swimwear model.
What? You bigots. Yeah. But she looks like, I think it's impossible to say she's going to be good or not at 15s because she's only played 3 games of it. Well, not even 3 games in terms of in terms of minutes, probably much less than that.
But she's a mega athlete, so
we're talking about
she will be.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it once. It's never happening again. I can guarantee that. And if it blows up and it goes great, I wish them all the best. I think it'd be a great thing if women's rugby can grow organically because of somebody there. I did also think that rugby really is not the sport for high-level or high-profile individuals. We saw it with probably Andy Farrell. We saw it with Sam Burgess. I think we're going to see it with Iona Moore. I think she's going to disappoint a lot of people, not because she's bad at rugby, but because rugby is not the thing that you're expecting if you're watching TikTok. You really need to know what you're doing, what you're watching. Maybe a better move would have been to go to the NRL.
I don't know how big the women's league is.
I think every single team, every NRL team has a women's team. I think. And it's easier to understand.
Well, do you know what?
You get more interventions.
The one thing I'd love to know the facts on is because everyone talks about the 8 million followers on TikTok, whatever. Great, well done. You're a fantastic social media entrepreneur. That's brilliant. I would love to know. And I'm sure the intention is that the Venn diagram will be greater overlap with rugby. But I would love to know how much, if any, overlap there was with a rugby Venn diagram to start with, because if there isn't one, it's a little bit irrelevant.
Well, she's a fascinating-looking lady.
Yeah.
She's obviously a great athlete.
Yeah.
And, when you do see some of her social media stuff, it's like, here's me in a dress, here's me brutalising on the Seventh Circuit. And it's quite cool.
That's pretty interesting.
It is cool.
But how many of those people who like that idea will ever actually watch Sevens or rugby?
Well, 8,000 of them.
Well, it's not the same. So it's not the same. But I remember, I did a video of my kids opening some Christmas presents about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it went mad viral. And my bosses were like, "Oh, this is the sort of stuff you need to be doing for your radio show. This is how we're going to get more traction and blah blah blah." And actually, I looked at the analytics, and 15 million people watched, whatever the case. I looked at the analytics. 85-90% of all of the views were in America, and a load of them were elsewhere. The actual number of views, bearing in mind my radio show was Greater Manchester, the number of views in Greater Manchester was negligible.
Yeah,
it was like
a few
this
thousand.
is actually for the objective. It's like, just if I wanted to make some money from getting some views on YouTube, brilliant. It's a great job. If I wanted to grow my radio show by doing this video, completely ineffectual. And I guess that's what I'm layering on top of this. Is like, actually, is it gonna move the needle at all with rugby? Hopefully it does, but I'm not so sure it necessarily will.
Well, I've heard details of her Bristol deal, alleged Bristol deal, and it's not very much. But I've also heard rumours about what she's quoting for social media access, which is around the £500,000 mark. So I hear, could be wrong, for people to do social media work with her, which I don't know. You know more about social media than me. Maybe that's nail on the head. Maybe it's not. But you know, if you're spreading a major. It depends what she's delivering for that.
It's 8 million followers who you probably have a pretty good idea of the age range and demographic of those followers.
Yeah, probably.
So you can target specific things to them. Yeah. Just a slightly related thing there. I've been meaning to bring this up for a little while, but I found it quite interesting. So maybe 6 weeks ago, I was chatting to one of the school mums at a party. And
it's the same party that I went to.
No, I don't think so. A Sale Conservative Club
was
the party. And she's just chatting, and she mentioned that she plays touch rugby. So we chatted about that for a bit, but I said, I think it was when the autumn internationals were on. So I said, have you been watching any of the internationals? And her reaction was, oh, God, no. It's so boring.
Really?
Really, really. And she said, I cannot watch, I don't watch rugby, men's rugby internationals or anything like that. But I do watch. What do you think she said? And she said she finds it interesting enough to be able to watch it.
Super League?
Sevens?
Yeah, rugby league.
Yeah, I can see that. I know a few girls in the gym who...
She said she'll watch it a few times a season. She shouldn't like regularly follow it, but if it's on, she'll watch it. And she's been to the grand final a couple of times as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but it's so easy to understand. That's why I think more should have gone to rugby league.
Yeah, rugby makes sense from that.
You get more clips.
But that to me was interesting because the RFU promoting sevens might actually be a gateway onto other things. Like, it's not getting people into the RFU rugby union, but it will get people into related things. And so a related thought I had when I was listening to the NBA acquired that I mentioned a few weeks ago, really worth listening to. But I'm not quite sure. I've not really spoke about this since I had this thought. But rugby doesn't have a monopoly on the skills that are involved in rugby. So there is no monopoly on violence, because if you like violence in your sport, you could go and watch UFC, you go and watch boxing, you go and watch ice hockey, you watch rugby league, you watch rugby union, you watch Gaelic, you watch AFL. It doesn't have a monopoly on handling the ball. If what you like is skillful...
I know where this is going, Phil.
NBA, you can go watch NBA, you can go watch handball, you can watch those other things that I mentioned before. It does... Sorry, the only sport that does have a monopoly on a skill set, because like there's other types of sport. There's sports where they're endurance sports, where you could go on a bike, you could go on a rower, you could run, you can do various things. There are like riding or racing sports where it could be on a bike or a horse or a car. The only sport, and none of those have monopolies on the skill set. The only sport that has a monopoly on a skill set is football.
Why?
Because it's kicking. There's no other.
Gaelic?
There's a tiny bit of it, but it's not the whole sport. The only other, you have something like hacky sack. No. You have futsal,
maybe,
which is entirely really based on football. It's just bad football players. You have something like football golf, which is not a sport that you can watch and is just a completely derived thing.
But what I would just to extend your point on rugby, coming at it from a different angle, what does rugby have a monopoly on? Scrums and lineouts.
It does.
Lineouts in particular.
Lineouts, but the scrum, and that is why
it does.
When people that don't know much about rugby think about rugby, they think of a scrum. And again, watching this weekend, and I don't want to be one of those guys that just go, oh, put the ball in straight. But it has now got to a ridiculous level where there is no distinction between the put-in of a rugby union scrum and a rugby league scrum. There is no... Hookers do not hook.
It was they're meant to.
What was the last scrum against the head you've ever seen?
I've seen some penalty try. Aspel.
Exactly.
Yeah. You'll get it.
Nothing at the top level.
Yeah.
Nothing at the top level.
Not for a long
Even with a
time.
scrum that's getting absolutely humped, you get a penalty.
Yes.
You never get
You never get a steal against
You never get a steal against the head.
Yeah.
No, you don't, do you?
That's in my... Because the law book still says you go
Put
through.
the ball in straight.
Yep. That's in my... We've either got to change the law or change the way it's applied.
And that is World Rugby and various authorities completely messing about with one of the monopolies that rugby does have.
Yep.
And
very good point.
I'm just going to float something now. I'm going to sort of tease it. We're about to do a Patreon. And
Yes.
I predict this will be one of the funniest Patrons that we have ever done.
I'm quite looking forward to this.
And the only way we are going to dissect a document which is a complaint by the Canadian Sevens women's team, and I can only describe the women that play there as... I'm just trying to find it. They sound like a bunch of mentally unstable, fragile lunatics. I mean, that's the only way I can possibly think of describing this this team. It is a document which is about to be dealt with by World Rugby. It's a complaint against their coach, John Tate, is it?
Yep.
John Tate.
And it's one of the most remarkable and maybe ridiculous documents I've ever read in my life. So
we'll investigate whether it's in fact a giant parody.
I think it might be a parody.
It might be.
It is actually something like I'd expect. Joe,
The Onion, or
no? Do you know those guys that were writing the fake research papers?
oh yes, Peter Boghossian.
Yeah. It reads like that.
Yeah.
Some of the things are absolutely remarkable.
They really are.
It's going to be a good one. And another reason why you should sign up for more at patreon.com/EggChasers. Help us keep the lights on. Let the boys play, let the boys end.
The boys end.
Sweet.
When it's PCS time, you know the drill. Pack, research to new base, get the kids in school, because family supports family. At American Public University, we support military families with flexible, affordable online education that moves with you. As a military spouse, your tuition rate is the same as your partner's, just $250 per credit hour. American Public University, education that moves with you. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.